Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. TheOnlyGround.com, the THE onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knick-knack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the show. I am MMA insider and Herb Dean's dog sitter, Joey Venti, and you're listening to the MMA History Podcast, the only podcast dedicated 100% to the preservation of mixed martial arts history. Interviews and stories about the early days of MMA direct from the men who lived it. Hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours of research, all conducted by the most obsessed mind in the business, the MMA detective Mike Davis. Join us as we document the history of the sport we all love. Welcome back to the MMA History Podcast. I am Joey. I'm Joey Venti. I'm here with Mike Davis. He is the MMA detective. I am Herb Dean's dog sitter, and today we have a special episode. Our guest today is a UFC vet and pioneer immortalized in the UFC and grappling world by the choke that bears his name. Welcome to the show, Jason Livewire Von Flue.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Going good.
Thanks for the intro. That's pretty cool.
Dude. All right. So I went through your career. And when we talk to like the old school guys, there's certain boxes that got to get checked. Like if you want to say you're a veteran of the sport, you've done this, you've done that, you got to fight in a tournament.
Yeah.
The old school guys, yeah.
You got to go old school.
Yeah. In truth be told, you're the Ultimate Fighter Season 2 veteran. So to like us, you included, you're not an old school guy. You're a newer guy because you're after Tough One. But when you look, because these were fucking fossils, but when you look at your career, you're like, oh, dude, this guy's checking some boxes here. It's pretty cool.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I got really blessed, and I got to experience a lot of things. A lot of these younger guys won't ever get to experience whatsoever, and everybody knows me from Ultimate Fighter forward, but, I had like 10, 13 fights before the UFC, like any pro, and there's history there. Yeah, there's always history there.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. So when we, do our research, we've had like a bunch of pit guys on. We had Chuck. We just dropped Banuelos. We've had obviously John Hackelman. You're one of the original members from the San Luis Obispo slow kickboxing.
Yeah, slow kick team. Yeah.
So where does that journey begin?
So I'm from Fresno area, Herman, California, and I had a union job with Rainbow Bread, big baking company. And I got this, after 3 years, I got offered a job transfer out to San Luis Obispo and split days off. So, I've been there for a month or two, settling in, and decided on my Tuesday night off to run downtown. And I just told the story yesterday, and I go into the library lounge and I get some grief from the door guy, this big 6'10" monster. This happens to be Gan the Giant McGee. Gives me grief for my ID, whatever. So I go inside and I see this flyer on the wall for slow kickboxing. And I'm kind of interested because I grew up poor and we couldn't afford martial arts. And so I asked one of the bouncers, hey, what's the deal with this? And he points us this guy behind the bar. Big guy, mohawk, tattoos on his head. And I looked at this guy, oh God. This is back in 98, and I'm fresh out of Fresno, and I don't think too much of this guy. I just think, oh, what's this guy compensating for, right? So I roll up, and I'm thinking the worst possible, and what do I order? A freaking melon ball, McCory, vodka, sweet and sour, some 7, And so the big guy behind the bar pours this drink, and I'm trying to talk, and I ask him, what's the deal with this gym? And he said, bro, Yeah, that's my gym. I was, well, what do you guys teach there? Bro, kickboxing. Well, how much is it? Bro, if you're interested, just come by tomorrow. Okay. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, God, I'm going to dump this pansy on his head. He keeps annoying me. Yeah, this is obviously Chuck Liddell, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the next day, I show up over at Slow Kickboxing and 10 in the morning or so, and Chuck's teaching a cardio kickboxing class, and there's 10 of the most gorgeous girls I've ever seen in my life. Cal Poly girls, they're in their just perfect technique, doing all this stuff. And I get in there and I'm just like, oh God, I got this. I'm a cowboy. Yeah, this is great. I got a puddle, a moat underneath me. It's horrible. And Chuck's, oh, come on, bro. Yeah, you got this. So I get done with the class and I'm walking out. I want to leave. And I walk by the front desk and Scott Adams, his business partner, says, hey, you interested? I said, nah, not me. He goes, did you wrestle or anything? I was like, yeah, high school. He goes, do you ever do jiu-jitsu? I go, is that UFC stuff? He goes, yeah. Want to check it out? Sure, why not? So the next night I come in on Wednesday night and I take a jiu-jitsu class. And Scott, some guy that's my size, and I'm about 200 pounds at the time, no muscle on me and hair down to here, and Cruz Gomez. And Cruz, 145 pounds soaking wet.
He's a go-getter, though. Cruz
was always tough, man.
Yeah,
stud. And so anyways, technique, whatever. And then Scott says, hey, we're going to free wrestle. So you go ahead and take a knee and watch Cruz and what's his name go. So I'm watching, and after a little bit, Cruz submits the guy, and I'm up on my feet, kind of going, wow, okay. And Scott looks at me and goes, do you want to try? I go, yeah. So he sends me out there with the bigger guy, and I inadvertently get him with an arm triangle choke. Because all an arm triangle is at the end of the day is a head and arm pinning combination, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling. Or make them tap. Woo. So then Cruz and I go after it. Cruz pulls the guard. We work. He locks me in an arm bar, and I'm naturally pulling myself out of it, not knowing how to. And then my gas tank goes zip, and I tap. So Cruz got me with an arm bar on day one. But man, it was amazing. So I signed up and they couldn't kick me out of the gym for like a year.
Okay. So you're there, Cruz Gomez, Chuck Liddell, Scott Adams. Who else is in that room with you?
Well, on the early days, a lot of guys, Scott Liddell was teaching kickboxing.
K1, Scott Liddell. Yeah.
Yeah. Way before he hit K1.
Bo Taylor?
Bo and Jake Schill showed up eventually.
Okay.
Trying to think who else. Preston Scharf was in there.
What about Tony D'Souza?
Tony came in and hung out with us for about a year off and on.
Okay.
Really good guy, man. Really good jiu-jitsu. Good submission guy.
Chuck Sandlin?
Yeah, he came in for a long time. Chuck has some MMA fights, if I remember right.
Yeah, I like him too.
Stud wrestler.
Yeah.
Slow kickboxing, we were all wrestling. Most of us were wrestling based. So our approach to jiu-jitsu was take you down, leg lock you, take you down, knee bar you. Scott Adams just being a genius at this.
Yeah.
And I took to that like a fish to water.
Huh. Do you know who else? Melissa Hendricks was
Hendricks was there doing kickboxing for years.
One of your instructors.
Yeah, she taught some women's.
Yeah.
So Melissa,
she had a really good reputation as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean she still works for the UFC if I remember right, doesn't she?
I don't know. I know at one point she did. I my Google search stopped and started, and I kept on concentrating on other stuff. And Gan McGee as well was. Yeah,
and Gan was in there, and a guy named Dave Steiner. Him and Gan were best friends at the time, and Dave was a former Marine and just vicious, big 230 pounder, all muscle, and just tough. Let's see, Jason. Why am I forgetting his last name? Jeremiah Miller, Jason Pratt. Those guys were unreal.
So tough.
And Erik Schwartz.
Okay. Were you at the Erik Schwartz Glover Teixeira fight?
I absolutely was.
Oh my God.
We see like 1 or 2, something like that.
Oh my God, dude.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Who knew? Like, I mean, Glover Teixeira eventually becomes a world champion, and Schwartz becomes a successful businessman.
Yes. So rumor on the street was Schwartz was better than Chuck, but Schwartz blew his knee out. He had what they call a trick knee. And, it just, he decided to go a different route with Ash Management, a group that owns quite a few of the bars down in San Luis Obispo. And he got into and bought into shares of that and has done really well for himself.
Yeah, he's done really well.
Very long time.
Yeah, stud wrestler, tough fighter.
Yeah.
Was in and out of the MMA game.
So back in the early days, we weren't belted. There's no belt system for jiu-jitsu or the kickboxing back then. We're doing submission wrestling. And without belts, there's a lack of discipline that comes with that. Well, you think about karate, you think about discipline, right? You might know how to throw the punches and kicks, but you got to have respect, discipline. You can't, to get your belts and progress forward. Long story short, we used to roll up a lot of people in downtown Slow. We didn't know anything. You bump into us. Hey, you got a problem. What? Next thing you know, arm drag RNC, I'm hucking somebody's shoe on the roof. Well, if you throw a shoe on the roof, they can't exactly go back into a bar.
Right.
You got to go home. You can't exactly buy a shoe. A lot of humility involved in that.
Yeah, it's a walk of shame. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
100%.
And if you got an expensive pair of shoes, man, you can't exactly buy a left Nike. You got to buy a whole pair. So we'd roll people up pretty good.
You didn't happen to be there the night Chuck interacted with all the Navy SEALs, were you?
The second one.
The second one, okay.
No, so the first one, Chuck and myself and Antonio and Dustin Todd, we're in Hawaii at a show out there. And
Antonio Benuelos, okay.
Yeah. And we're out in Hawaii at that time. And the Navy SEALs decided to attack our bar because, they wanted a challenge, I guess. And the boys that were there did really good. The story is fight started, and Gan, my God, he had 4 guys on him at once. He'd have 1 on each leg, 1 on each arm, huck one guy off the arm, knock this guy out. Somebody else would come in and grab the other arm. 2 of their buddies would come and grab these guys and fast foot them out and around the corner. They'd shake it off and then come back in. And Gan just cleaned everybody up. It's like this story of a legend, yeah?
Yeah.
And, they did pretty good. And I forget if it was a year, 6 months later, I was bouncing or bartending. I think I was bouncing. And I saw a brawl break out in front of the bar, starting at Mother's. And we're like, hey, free training, all right?
Yeah.
So we ran out there, and we had about 8 of us. I remember Gan and Chuck. And
can you imagine that? Gan McGee, he's like, what is he, 6'9"?
Just bad luck.
Yeah, 6'10".
6'10",
pounds.
Every bit of 3 something. Yeah.
Yeah. Cruz, pretty sure Lytes was there. I'm pretty sure John Palau.
Oh my God.
I was there. And we fought these guys back and around on the main street, quarter block up and around the corner, and just started beating on these guys. And we had this human pile of Navy SEALs. And we just, like at one point, I remember right, Chuck and Gan had one of these guys by his arms and legs and swinging them. And I'm coming up sucker punching him. And he gets thrown in a pile. In the middle of this pile is Cruz Gomez. He's the smallest guy there. And he's dropping elbows on this guy. Oh, just destroying him. And we're like, finally had to pull him out of there. And well, the Navy gave up. They went home, and a few of them were hurt pretty bad. They didn't go for round 3, so we never had Navy SEALs versus Slow Kickboxing Part 3.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
no, so many of these stories. I was telling you about Erik. One time we got in a big brawl with these guys, about 5, 6 of them, and it's Erik, myself, and somebody else. And we're just cleaning these guys up, just having fun. And the one guy comes at Erik, and Erik drops him. And the guy kind of shakes it off and kind of rolls into Erik with the most horrible double leg ever. And Erik just sprawls and just starts wailing on the guy's ribs. Bah, bah. And it gets tired of beating on him. This guy's kind of trying. And Erik goes, okay, I give up. You win.
Oh.
You win, bro. You win. And this poor guy just, he's beat to hell. Chuck has showed up. And downtown cops, slow PD show up. And first thing to say, everybody on the ground, because there's a couple bodies laying there. There's about now 8 or 10 of them. And there's about 4 of us. Cops come in, everybody on the ground. And we just kind of all look at each other and stand there as all these kids hit the floor. Because the cops left us alone. They were pretty cool with us. So we just kind of stand there and shrug shoulders like, cool. We're just trying to break them up from fighting each other. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
So
some of these brawls were just ridiculous.
I had heard you guys got pretty wild. Yeah. Ben Walos didn't really open up on it, but I'm glad you did. The rumor,
Jake Chills would get in there quite a bit too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But Ben Willis opened up a little bit. He talked about fighting the Nazis a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, Chuck, and Gan McGee work at a bar called Volz?
Yes. So Chuck, when I came into town in '98, he was just finishing bartending at the library because Scott Adams had opened up Slow Kickboxing, and he was moonlighting at the UFC. This is around the first time he fought Jeremy Horn. He had just beat up, was it Noe Perez?
No, Hernandez.
My bad. I apologize.
And were you there? Were you there for that?
No.
Okay.
I showed up just after that fight, but before the Jeremy Horn fight. And, so he had beat Noe, who was a boxer.
Wait. Just so everybody understands, Noe was like a national Golden Glove quarterfinalist. He had an incredible punch. Like if you look at his record, it's like maybe 4-2, 5-3, something like that. But he's never, the only time he ever lost is when somebody wrestled and pinned him. Yeah. And going into this fight, I'd seen Noe fight a few times prior. I'm like, man, if this Chuck guy wants to stand with Noe and he connects with Chuck, there's no way Chuck's gonna be able to take that punch. And Liddell, he ate about 5 or 6 of his hardest punches and walked right through them.
That guy got a cast iron chin. I swear. And he hit him with the baseball bat. Bat would break. He'd just grin at you and go, bro, what's up? Chuck's just something else. So going into that fight, I wasn't around, but the story was SAG owned UFC still at that point. And they told Chuck, we know you're a wrestler, but keep it standing. If you go to the ground, you won't fight for us ever again.
John Peretti told him.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So,
was Peretti there at the time, or was the fight after? I think it was Peretti. Yes. Yeah.
So
good call, Joe.
So going into that fight, Chuck had to keep it standing. So that's how that ended up working out. And then he had the Jeremy Horn fight where he got caught in that arm triangle choke. And then he fought the open circuit for a while. Had that Steve Heath fight where he face kicked Heath square in the face and knocked him out cold.
When did you realize Chuck was a superstar?
It took me a while, about a year. So,
was there a particular moment where you just kind of realized, wait a minute?
Oh, it's just it took time. So I showed up over Slow Kickboxing. I was doing jiu-jitsu. I excelled at it. I was like winning grappling tournaments, my experience level the first 3 months in. Chuck and I didn't talk. We passed by each other. Hey, how's it going? through a hallway or something, but I really didn't know anything about them. You know, I'm not from that area. You know, I'm from 2.5 hours away inland, Fresno, California area. You know, this is a whole new everything to me. I moved out to the coast by myself at 22 years old, knowing the guy, one of my coworkers, and then my girlfriend eventually moved out at the time. You know, I didn't know anybody, so I knew nothing about the history or anything that's going on there. You know, Chuck had came up from Santa Barbara, Ventura, on a scholarship to Cal Poly for football and wrestling, I think, wrestling for sure, and built a really good name for himself. And everybody knew him. That's why he did well out there. I showed up. I knew nothing about him. So it took a year to just kind of casual conversations and stuff, just passing by in hallways and stuff, until we actually kind of talked a little bit. Then I had a falling out with the girlfriend and decided, well, I'm going to move out of the Pismo area and move into Slow. And I heard Chuck had where he's staying at, this 4-bedroom, 2-story house, had a room available. And so he goes, well, the guy in charge of the house is Obi Howe. Go ahead and give him a call and meet up with them. So Obadiah Howe. So I meet up with Obi and talk to him, and he thinks I'm okay. And I was pretty shy back then. You know, I'd really hadn't developed him myself, and having the confidence that I have now. So I talked to Obi, and if you ever were to talk to him, he says, "Oh yeah, this shy shit comes up, blah blah blah." And I was a shell of who I am now and who I became. Side note: Obi allowed me the freedom to just be me and develop into myself. He is really one of my best friends in the world. So anyways, Obi says, yeah, no problem. You can rent this room. So we called it the Fight Club House. It's over in Laguna Lake area, about 3 miles outside of the center of Slow. Chuck had a room. I had a room. Obi and this guy, Nick, had a room. And we had a soak and poke in the backyard. Hot. Sorry. No. Yeah. First question we ask any girl get in there: are you on birth control?
Oh God.
Yeah. No, don't put your butt in that water.
Yeah.
we won't know whose it is.
Yeah.
So we ended up moving in there, and that's where I really got to know Chuck a lot better.
Okay, so
and then I started understanding better, because he had the Jeremy Horn fight, which he came up short on, but you start realizing who this guy is and where he's going.
Like I'd like to make the argument, like, outside of like Ken Shamrock, the sport's real first superstar, you could argue, is Tito Ortiz.
Yes.
But then like Chuck eclipsed him. Like whatever Tito was, which was really cool at the time, Liddell had him beat threefold in regards to popularity.
So my understanding with the UFC was you had 3 superstars in that golden era right there. You had Chuck, you had Tito, and you had Couture. And all of them were uniquely different.
Yeah.
Different fighting styles and everything. Tito, the ground and pound guy. Randy, he'd stand there and bang with you and take you down.
Old guy. Yeah, old guy. Yep.
And then you got Chuck, which would just stand there and bang with you. Chuck, any pay-per-view that he was on, if I remember right, would double the pay-per-view sales. Because he's such a stand-up guy, especially when him and Tito started separating off because they realized they're in a collision course.
Oh, okay. Did you ever see? So Dana White managed both Chuck and dude. I got a shitload of questions about you, so I appreciate
Sure.
Like this kind of going.
I don't mind giving you history.
This is what it's all about. So Dana White manages Chuck and Tito. Do you see Dana hanging around the gym at any point? Because you're talking the SEG era.
No.
I wonder how they made that connection. We even asked Chuck, and he was kind of vague about it. Like it was we just kind of know each other.
That's beyond my pay grade. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I know just from my understanding, Dana taught kickboxing, like cardio kickboxing and kickboxing and stuff. And then he ended up managing fighters, which he ended up with Chuck.
Which could have
honestly,
been a correlation. That's a really smart observation.
Yeah. Now, as for him managing Tito, I have no idea because I didn't even know.
Yeah. No. But I bet you it was the kickboxing. I bet you Scott Lightly too. Yeah.
But at some point, Chuck had to separate from Dana because Dana was the president of the UFC under the Fertitas. So then he went over to Dwayne Zinkin, which is a local guy out here in Fresno. And
Right.
Dwayne manages a lot of athletes and
still does.
MMA fighters, Division I wrestlers is his forte.
That's it. Wow. So June 29th, 1999, IFC 8 or IFC, it's an 8-man tournament.
Where's Sean's 3?
Is this your first time in a fighting, or did you have anything prior to this?
Okay. So I loved jiu-jitsu. I love wrestling. I love ground fighting. I used to hate getting the fights growing up, like in school. So you know how it goes at school. I'm gonna kick your ass after school. My stomach would be in butterflies by after school. I hated it, but I loved wrestling. So I'm excelling at the jiu-jitsu. A year in, I'm teaching jiu-jitsu classes for Scott and Chuck and whatnot, and Cruz and I are. And Scott Adam rolls up to me and says, "Hey, Von Flue." I said, "What's up?" He goes, the fight team is going to go down to LA and we're going to fight Larry Landless's Submission Factory team.
Yep.
You want to go? I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" He goes, "Cool. I'll get you a fight. I don't want to fight." "Bro, come on, man. Blah, blah. You do all this training." I said, "All right, fine. Whatever." So they had rented one of those transport vans, and we're about halfway down there, and I'm sitting next to Scott, and he goes, "Dude, aren't you excited?" I'm like, "No." "Well, what would you rather be doing? You get the fight today." And I looked at him, I go, "Fucking my girlfriend." You know, I mean, that's exactly what I said. He looked at me like lost. I was like, "I'd rather be having sex." I mean, that's where we're at right now, right? So anyways, we get down there. Another guy that was on the Warrior Challenge 3 card is Steve Cutler. We're still really good friends. Steve Cutler and I are sitting there at the rules meeting. Now, you remember how that was, right? We're back of this parking lot, big parking lot.
A chiropractor's office. Yeah.
We got pay-per-view, which is basically the 2-story apartment complexes on either side of it. You know, watching us in this is a cage, right?
No, it was a ring.
A ring. Okay.
Wait. Just for our listeners know, Joey also fought on this card. Okay.
Joey fought. I think I fought the guy you're talking about, Steve.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm sitting there next to Steve, and Larry's up there about to ready to go over the rules and tells us, "Okay, I got good news and I got bad news." Do you remember this?
Keep going. I'll tell you.
He goes, "I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is everybody has a fight." He goes, "The bad news is my guys, there's more of my guys than your guys. So 2 of you got double duty today." I go, God. I look at Steve, I go, "Watch this. Gary Walraven, Jason Von Flue, you got to fight twice." I don't even want the first fight. I was like, what the hell? So my first fight is against Mike Volz, he announces, and Mike Volz ended up being a referee later in life. And we still talk. But anyways, he goes, "Okay, no eye pokes, no gouges, this, that, the other, but groin strikes are allowed." I'm like, I look over at Mike, and I go, He goes,
"We're not doing that."
No groin strikes. So we go out there, and Mike and I go for about 3
This is Larry Landless's event?
Yes.
Okay, are you sure you're not talking about the Mark Hall? Because you fought Mike Volz twice, and I remember a story like this with Mark Hall.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to that. Okay. So yeah, I got you on this one.
Okay.
So Mike and I go out there. 3.5 minutes later, I lock him up in a leg lock. I hear his ankle go pop, 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 pop.
Oh no!
Fight's over.
Yeah.
So if you remember right, if I remember right, is 1 5-minute round, win, lose, or draw, no judges. Right. This is like below amateur. You know, There's no sanctioning. There's no insurances. you lose your arm, you lose your arm. That's up to you, And
wait, hold up. Joey, like we said, this guy checks a lot of boxes.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead. I apologize.
And it was probably bare knuckle if I had to guess. I don't quite remember.
It was bare knuckle.
Yeah, we had a few bare knuckle fights. There's another box for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Mark Hall. There you go. So, bare knuckle's so horrible, and I used to do that.
Okay.
Anyways,
so you took his leg. You hear pop on his leg. Okay.
Yeah, submit him. So then Scott Adams goes out there and rolls up this guy in a leg lock in like 5 seconds. That's what he does. Knee bar, actually. And then I got to go back out and fight another guy. Now, this other guy, I'm 170 pounds soaking wet. And the other guy, I don't remember his name or anything, but he was a little heavier than me and got paired up with me. So we go out there and beat on each other, and it's a draw. Like, okay, whatever. Draw. Cool. Yeah, you're
done. You're finally done.
I don't got to get hit in the face anymore. So this is really cool, and I don't remember the guys at all, but 2 of his teammates rolled up to me, shook my hand, said, "Congratulations." And I go, "Dude, it's a draw." And both of these guys separately said, "No, you won that fight." And I'm like, "What? No, it was a draw." He goes, "No, you won that fight."
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool because I guess I don't remember the fight at all. There's no video, but I guess I dominated him on top. I don't know.
Though, it's moments like that at this time, to me, this is like the greatest era of mixed martial arts. But at that time, it's kind of like, this really isn't personal.
No. Right. Most of the guys cool. You have beers with afterwards.
Cool. Yeah.
So Jason pops this guy's ankle, and I'm supposed to fight next. My dad grabs me and tries to drag me to the car because he didn't like the sport to begin with. But the fact that we saw somebody, we thought his ankle might have been broken. Yeah, my dad thought the whole event was a bunch of psychos.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first 2 fights. So I start my amateur fight career as 1-0-1. So, okay, whatever. So fast forward a month and a half later.
So this is June 29th, 1999, IFC 8-man tournament. So did you volunteer for this, or was it the same kind of situation?
About June 28th, Friday night, 5 o'clock in the evening, I'm going to work at 8 o'clock to go work on a loading dock until 1 in the morning. Then I'm going to take a rig down with a 55-foot trailer down to Ventura and back full of bread. I'm going to work a 12-hour shift from 8 to 8. 5 o'clock, Scott Adams randomly calls me. "Hey, what's going on? We're pretty good friends at this point." "Oh, man, I'm pissed. What's going on?" He goes, "You're not going to believe it." "Well, what's going on?" He goes, "There's a fight tomorrow for an 8-man tournament, 155 pounds. I've had 3 guys back out of it." He goes, "I'm so pissed. It's just bullshit. I'm not gonna matchmake anymore. I'm not gonna do this for the guys anymore." And he goes, "It's just bullshit." And I go, "Scott," I go, "Look, I'm 170 pounds.
You're talking about Scott Adams, the instructor.
Yeah, co-owner WC with Reed Harris.
Not Scott Smith. Okay.
Yeah, Scott Adams. Okay. And he goes, "Man, I'm not. He's just upset." And I, "Well, shit, I'd do it for you. I'm 170 pounds. What? Oh yeah, if they give me 15 pounds, I'll do it. I'm bluffing.
Huh.
I'm not planning on doing this. I got to work a 12-hour shift. And remember what my primary goal in life is right now: getting laid."
Yeah.
Go on. It's a good one.
Yeah, booty. I'd rather have booties than sex. But a friend of mine years ago told me, "I'd rather fight than," because when you fight, normally you get the, he gets the booty. So, back of the head. So anyways, Scott goes, "I'll call you right back." Hangs up, calls Paul Smith up. 5 minutes later, phone rings. I go, "What the heck?" Answers, "You're in." I go, "What?" He goes, "You're in. 8-man tournament." I go, "I'm 170 pounds. He goes, "You'll be fine. Just get up here." "When can you be here?" I said, "Probably noon." He goes, "Okay." So I go to work all night, work 7 hours on the loading dock, drive down to Ventura and back, whatever it is. It adds up till 8 in the morning. Park my truck, go home, take a shower, drink some orange juice, pound a bunch of coffee, call the girlfriend, tell her, "Hey, I'm going to go do this." She's like, "Whatever." You and your stupid fighter lifestyle, And I shoot up to Jackson Rancheria. It's a 5-hour drive. I get there around noon. I up on the scale, 170 pounds. I look at the promoter, barely know him, Paul Smith. Well, I could jog and lose something. He says, don't worry about it. There's a flag for you. Think about that. 150 pound tournament. He's saying 170, don't worry about it.
And no one weighed in. Nobody weighed in.
They
may have stepped on a scale,
which is sovereign ground, which is federal laws, not state laws. You can make your rules up. So, anyways, is a cage outside with a motel on the property, 2-story motel facing west, and the sun's beating down on that cage floor. It is hot.
Oh, dude, it's one of those.
So I watched Steve go out there and fight, and a couple other guys. A few fights happened, and the tournaments start. And
Steve
Cutler.
Who? Steve Cutler. Okay.
Steve Cutler.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's you look him up. He has.
I know he is. Yeah.
So I'm watching these fights. I've been up for a day and a half now, and the only thing I'm going on is coffee. Yeah, coffee and orange juice. So finally, it's time for my first fight, and Danny Greider, he's a local kid up there, part of the reservation, and I get out there and I'm scared to death. I don't want to fight, right? So what I did.
Wait, what's the prize? Did you discuss the prize for the tournament prior?
$1,100 for the 8-man tournament win.
Oh my God,
that's huge money then.
Yeah,
$1,100. You figure most single fights you're getting $300 to $500.
$200 to $500, yeah, depending where you're at in the card. Yeah.
So I go out there with Danny, and I'm scared, and I put myself on the jiu-jitsu mat, the wrestling mat at Slow Kickboxing. I blocked everything out. Those cage walls, I didn't see anything beyond them. All I saw was the guy that I'm fighting. To me, it's just I'm grappling. And I had a referee there, and I had Liddell in the corner. And I blocked everything out. I just treated it like a jiu-jitsu match. Went out there, took him down, softened him up, and then broke his knee.
Ooh.
That's right. Yeah, you got him in a leg lock is what it's recorded as.
Was it a knee bar?
Kinda. Yeah. So a knee bar hyperextends this way. He was on the ground, leg up. Here's his foot, right? So it's a modified half guard.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was his left leg, I just circled around until it broke.
Oh.
It popped. He screamed.
Oh, it's like a spiral. Oh.
And the referee.
Like a Kimura on his leg. Like a Kimura on his leg, essentially.
That's the best way of doing it. He's on his back, right here, pop.
Oh. Yeah.
Ran across him 8 to 10 years after that. Great guy, shook hands, nothing personal. He is just a fight, And then so I go take a quick shower upstairs in the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Wait, hold up. That guy's credit got shot because of that. You know what I mean? No insurance, goes to the hospital, gets sent the bill.
Yeah.
Oh, awful.
Well, but no, he's a tribal member. And Native Americans that are on sovereign ground, they have casinos, they make pretty good money, and they're pretty good taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So enough. I know quite a few guys that live on resins and stuff that make great money. Like Poppy Martinez.
Poppy's Martinez, a WEC legend.
Yeah, Poppy's and his brother. They make a lot of money.
Okay.
So
David Velasquez. Yeah.
Yeah, so David Velasquez, 155-pounder. Danny was 155. I'm 170.
He's tough.
Yeah. David, this guy hit like a brick. It's like an angry chihuahua with muscles. And so I get out there, and we go after each other after I'd taken a break. And I swing around him and ended up putting him in a rear naked neck crank, standing.
Oh.
And tapped him to that.
That's weird.
So that's rare.
I win 2 fights by submission in under 5 minutes each. And
are you adrenaline dumping? Are you adrenaline dumping at all or no?
Oh, I don't remember. See,
You gotta be.
So back then is weird. when you hit the UFC level and you're on the upper level and you're training for months at a time for one fight or weeks at a time, you understand you got to be in great shape and it's fun. But
Yeah.
back then, I didn't know you're supposed to get tired. Think about that. You don't know you're supposed to be tired because there's not really rounds. It's like 8, 8, and 4. 8 minutes, 8 minutes, a 4-minute OT.
Yeah.
And you don't know what tired is, right? Because the psychology is, I see guys all the time. I work with amateur fighters and whatnot, and they're 3 2-minute rounds, and they're exhausted after sometimes one round, if not all 3. 6 total minutes, and they're just like, oh God, I'm dying. 8, 8, and 4, and you don't know you're supposed to get tired.
Yeah, you just work through it. Yeah, you work through it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you take 2 guys and you say, okay, you go 3 2s, and this guy goes 3 5s, and you train them the same. They both get tired at the same time in the fight. You know, because you're supposed to get tired in round 3. So if they're trained the same and everything's equal, both of them get tired and exhausted in round 3. It's a weird psychological thing because they know at the end of the round and at the end of the fight, they're supposed to be tired. I mean, somebody should write a thesis paper on this.
Yeah.
It's insane. So anyways, I go take a quick shower, munch on something like some fruit, and I come down and I sit down in the audience, and this Chicano Mexican woman comes up. You mother, blah, 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 you son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. It's his wife. And she is just angry. Like, he was a little angry. He was a Chihuahua, muscular Chihuahua. She's a muscular Chihuahua in heat, and she was mean. And she's like, yeah, I got to kick you out today. You're lucky I had that first fight, and he hurt his tooth. And like, security had to get rid of her. I'm just sitting there going, my God, I hope I don't have to fight her tonight. So that was the funny. It's just weird. So then I ended up fighting in the finals, Dave Marinoble.
Dave Marinoble, yeah.
170 to 180 pounds in this tournament. Remember that flag?
Yeah.
Pro kickboxer.
Ooh.
And we go after each other. And I dragged him to the ground, and we're going. And I got him in my guard, and I lock up a neck crank in my guard, and his neck pops. And he tells me, I go, pop. And he goes, thanks. I don't got to go to a chiropractor tomorrow. Well, let me help you out some more. So, we're talking to each other, and we're going. And finally, he swung around on top, and I got my guard, and he starts pounding on me, and I lock in a leg triangle choke. So I got him wrapped up pretty good, but his free arm keep swinging around, and this guy could not miss my ear. He just couldn't miss my ear. Every time he hit, it's just like white flash. It hurt so bad. And finally, he lifts me up, and I had enough common sense that when he lifted me, as he's starting to drop, I loosened my triangle lock up. So when it came down, it cinched it. And then I just closed my eyes and pulled like hell, and he hit me a few more times, and all of a sudden the fight's over. I'm like, ah. So I'm standing there, and the ref was, we called him Grandpa. He raised, I'm standing there, I know I lost, and all of a sudden my hand gets raised. He tapped out. My first 3 pro fights, 8-man tournament win, all by first round. So it's pretty cool. It's a great memory to have. And then Scott Adams and I went up to South Lake Tahoe and had fun up there, and drove home the next day.
Well, let's talk about Paul Smith.
Okay.
How was your relationship with him, the promoter?
Great. Really good. Paul was decent. We, back then you don't know what a bad promoter is because, again, I wasn't even interested in fighting. But now I'm hooked. 2,000 people screaming my name. I'm in. Paul was great to me. You hear stories about everybody. Those are stories to me. What I can tell you is Paul treated me really well. Always let us fight. Was cool about everything.
A stellar reputation. Like you heard about his losses, and like in certain shows where he really took a risk and kind of came up short on it. Sturgis, he was like the first promoter to be in Sturgis. But his reputation was always intact. Yeah, I think I've been in contact with him. We're going to line him up. We're going to report him in the next 2 weeks.
Paul was great. I mean, he's a promoter at the end of the day, and promoters are promoters, but he always treated me very well, treated our whole team well, and
See,
always had a place to fight with them.
okay, so just so people at home can kind of understand, at the end of April or May, you've got an undocumented 2 fights.
Yeah.
June 29th, you do an 8-man tournament last minute. August 7th, 1999.
Toby Imada.
Toby Imada.
Tough draw.
No.
That was a crazy fight.
What did you get paid for that?
Probably 500, 400.
Yeah, that ain't worth it.
Well, back then, who's Toby Imada?
There's nobody. Yeah.
Who's Jason Von Flue?
Yeah, you knew after. You didn't know
who's
before.
Steve Cutler? Who's Scott Adams?
Yeah.
So I go out there, and Grandpa's reffing that match, and I got his back, but he ended up pulling my arm over his shoulder and doing an arm crank, which is a modified arm bar. And Grandpa, he'll tell you, he thought my arm was going to break, so he stops the fight. I didn't tap out. He stops the fight. And I am pissed off. I am just angry. And I'm drawing, like Chuck and I are like, what the hell? Because now I want to fight. So anyways, I walk back to the staging area. And I said, no, this is bullshit. I'm going to go out there and complain. I walk back out there. They've restarted that damn fight. Restart it.
Really?
And then Toby locks me up in an armbar, makes me tap out anyway.
Oh,
gotcha. Hey, that's fair and square.
That is the old days.
I lost twice in one fight.
You shake.
Thank you, Toby Imada. I hope you enjoyed that.
You shake his hand at that point. You know what I mean? That's it.
That one I actually tapped out on, so I'm okay with that. So yeah, that was the start of it, and then from there, just started.
Wait. So Joey, on this same card, it's interesting. Scott Adams has 2 wins on that card.
Yeah.
And Cruz Gomez has 2 losses on that same card.
Yeah, that's old days.
So
it wouldn't happen now.
So Cruz went out. I don't know if he's in a tournament or not, but he goes out, loses, and then goes out again and loses. Now, this is the thing about Cruz. You're starting off with 0-2, and this guy wanted to be a pro fighter. I didn't. But yeah, he starts off 0-2. At the end of the day, we both have the same amount of fights and similar records, winning records. So it's kind of interesting in fighting, and I talked to my guys about this. We took a kickboxing loss over the weekend, amateur kickboxing loss. So Arthur Tatujian is now 1-1 in kickboxing, and I told him, I said, amateur isn't about how you start out. It's about the journey.
And adjusting, learning to adjust.
If you learn from the losses, if you just win, you make no mistake. You can't fix stuff.
You don't grow.
Because what you're doing works. Then you go pro and you get jacked up. So losses early isn't a bad thing.
It's part of it. Yeah, it's part of it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you go pro, and then that amateur career, who cares? It's gone. It means nothing. And now this pro career is what matters. And that's what you're setting up for. You're making your mistakes early with the amateurs. And if you get a big win streak, go pro. I tell people all the time, if you're losing fights and you're like 5-7 fight lose streak in amateur, why would you go pro? You can't even beat amateurs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And pros train entirely different. Well, smart ones do. Even at entry level, they should. So
yeah, no, it's a learning experience.
So Cruz ended up with this massive record, like 30 plus fights, just like me, and a winning record. So it's pretty cool to watch his growth as we went along.
And Cruz fought tough. Like if you look at his record, it's stout, I think is how they refer to it as.
He's a solid journeyman, just like me.
Oh yeah.
Solid journeyman.
For sure. Savant Young is your next opponent, another really good guy.
Savant is one of the classiest guys you're ever going to meet. Family guy, loves people, trains hard, works hard. I beat him. I think leg lock, if I remember right. And
it's listed as a 5-second KO.
No? It wasn't. I didn't.
Yeah, so Savant said the same thing. Savant said he wasn't sure what you caught him in, but it wasn't a KO.
I'm pretty sure. I think it was a heel hook.
Like real quick. Probably not. You would know.
I thought you said real quick. I thought you were going to say something like
Yeah.
real quick. Let me see. No,
was it a real fast fight, or did it
no, it's
have
like
some
4 or 5 minute fight.
Yeah, that's just somebody putting a time down. It doesn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the thing about history, you know. You got people that just guess at it sometimes.
Yeah.
And, you know, history books are kind of weird.
In terms of character, Savant Young at the age of 18, his home life was
Crazy.
It was crazy. And like he didn't get into it with us on the interview, and we kind of skirted around the issue. I gave him the opportunity to talk about it, and his character wouldn't allow him to say it. At the age of 18, he adopted his younger brother, went to school, graduated, make sure his brother did the same thing while working a full-time job in order to pay the bills. Like legit guy.
I mean, if that's not the definition of what a real man is, like, what is?
Yeah, and now he's a successful business owner. He's doing great. You know,
it doesn't surprise
his character paid off.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. You know.
Yeah, nothing but a lot of respect for him. And we don't even know each other. You know, that fight, it might have ran across each other once or twice, never really talked. But it's funny how, you know, stories get around.
Yeah.
It's a class act.
Yeah. I mean, he never talks about it. Other people do.
Right.
Like I heard that from somebody else. I never read it, never heard from it from him. And I heard from it from like several other people about him. Yeah. Gan McGee was also on that card.
Yeah. Oh my God. Talk about a freaking wrecking ball. That guy, my goodness.
Yeah.
6'10", or as I think he used to say, what was it? 6 foot 22 inches. He's a witty guy. Had to cut weight to get down to
265.
265, yeah. You know, he got, God, a lot of us got done wrong back then, training wise and stuff. But yeah, again, well, he got to fight Tim Sylvia, you know, for the UFC world title. And my gosh, that guy was just so tough, so big. Him and I were really close for a long time. Him, Dave Steiner, and I hung out a lot.
He's a jail guard now.
He's what?
A jail guard, I was told.
Oh, so I just recently, I was out on the coast this weekend, this week, and his wife, I don't know what the job is. I don't want to say too much, but does well. And he takes care of the kids now. I don't know if he works on the side or not, but, you know, he's just a family guy, you know, kind of like me. I spend a lot of my time with my daughter.
That's super cool.
Nice.
Yeah, mine's got me wrapped around. Yeah.
But you wouldn't guess it because 20 years ago, the idea of marriage to him, oh, God. You know, and then he ends up married with kids. What the heck? Talk about a 180.
We all get old.
Yeah. We eventually all surrender.
Tap out.
Yeah. Mark Hall is your next promoter.
Mark the Cobra Hall.
Yeah.
How was he as a promoter?
Not bad. I mean, again, here's a guy, like, we don't know what a bad promoter is. We don't know what a good promoter is. But he's down there at Pachanga. This was when Pachanga Casino was basically a airplane hangar, a big giant airplane hangar. And the cage was outside. Now, now it's this big, beautiful, beautiful casino with a hotel and everything.
Yeah, like Guns N' Roses played there. I mean, they have big shows now.
Wow. I was just down there about 4 years ago and walked onto the casino, and I was like, oh my God, this isn't Pachanga. And my buddy goes, yeah, it is. And wow, well, they built it up.
Yeah.
So it's just night and day. But yeah, Mark Hall, the Cobra Challenges, home of the first ever intergender MMA belt.
Yes, I remember that fight. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. What's your recollection on that?
Oh, God. So we get down there, and there's rumor on the street that there's going to be this man versus woman fight. So And they get this woman that's built like a tank. And they find the drunkest, oldest guy in the bar. And they have them fight each other. And I guess they told the guys, like, hey, don't hurt her. So he's trying to go easy, but he's really trying to go hard because he'd come in, do something, and she just club him. And he'd back up, stumble and fall down and get back up. And she'd be holding on to the ring and breathing, going, and he'd come up, and she'd go, ugh, and club him. It's the worst dumpster fire you ever saw.
I think he fought shirtless in jeans.
I think so.
Yeah.
And those fights were bare knuckle.
Yeah.
About 8 years ago, I had to get hold of Cruz and ask him, and he told me, no, those were bare knuckle. I don't remember them being bare knuckle, but they were.
Yeah, I think you had an option for gloves, but you didn't need to wear them.
It's amazing that nobody went to jail over stuff like that.
Hey, they're on a sovereign nation. It was an Indian reservation.
You know, like,
well,
Mark, you say whatever it is you want, man. Jail will find you when you do shit like that.
Did go to jail. So he calls us up, and he's off the res, and he calls us up and says, hey, Von Flue, you want to fight? And I don't think I'm fighting on the card, but anyways, Preston Scharf and a couple other guys are fighting on the card, and it's at his club. And he keeps saying club, and I'm thinking like nightclub, right? But it's actually his jiu-jitsu place. And he has this underground show at his gym. Preston goes out there, wins a fight. A couple other guys fight, whatever. And then here comes the cops. And Tank Abbott was there. That grumpy old bastard.
Yeah.
He's
sober, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he's been a bit of a jerk. Back then was the days when I was a little bit still starstruck. It's like, oh my God, that's Tank Abbott, And but he was there, and then the cops show up, and we're like, got out of that picture. So I think Mark got in a little bit of trouble over that one.
So Mark Volz, you beat him a second time with the neck crank.
Mike Volz. Don't mispronounce my friend's name.
I'm sorry about that.
So Mike, to this day, he messaged me about a few months ago. Every time somebody does a Von Flue choke, he messages me.
Nice.
He goes, hey, you got me, he got me in a Von Flue choke. No. It was a side-mounted neck crank that I cranked it over, got my knee up on his ribs, and just started drilling him in the face till the ref stopped it.
Yeah.
And so it was a neck crank. Yeah, you remember. But
I was there.
Yeah. So, but then, it's funny. Fight the guy twice, beat him twice, and just such a good guy. It's not personal.
Nah, it's cool. Yeah.
There's only so many fights that I remember where there's issues, where afterwards we're kind of angry or whatever. But most of the time you're buying each other drinks and hanging out. Yeah. It's like what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same group. We're all in the same camp, like all of us. Like
we were all involved in this little subculture, this little niche that the rest of the world didn't understand.
They frowned upon it. Like at this point, like it was. My parents used to tell me, "Please, at this next family party, we support you. We really like that you go to these events, but let's not talk about it."
Right?
So most of the time we ended up having drinks afterwards. A lot of times with the guys that we fought. And it was cool. Very rarely did you have issues after the fight. MMA is such an intelligent sport. It's like chess versus checkers. Most of the guys know they're tough. They don't got much to prove except for in there. You're doing jiu-jitsu for belts. You're doing karate for belts. A lot of discipline. Very intelligent sport.
Yeah.
And I don't want to knock boxing too much, but
it's not even the same locker room. It's so completely different. Yeah.
Boxing, you get into a boxing gym, you hit the bag a lot, you do some sparring, do some mitts, you get in there and you brawl, and the guys are all angry at each other. But MMA is just a different
community. It's an actual community.
Animal. Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful community, and we got our bad apples. Yeah, we do. But the majority of the guys are pretty decent guys.
So you guys at the pit, but right now it becomes the pit, like Slow and the pit
Yeah,
combined right at this time, correct?
around 2003 or
Oh,
four.
so it's even after.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I think it was around 2003. Chuck is back in the UFC and he's doing well. He's on a win streak and he's heading for the world title. And him and Tito are training together all the time. And Tito has the belt, and then they got to separate, and all that fiasco happens with Chuck and Tito, where Tito was running from Chuck, and well, Chuck finally caught up to him. We know what happened there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So John Hackelman, when we had talked, do you think maybe Chuck was kind of cleaning out the weight division while they're kind of giving Tito feeders? Did you guys feel like that's what's going on?
I don't disagree with that.
Right. Oh, you're smart. And Hackelman will go, nah. We asked Chuck that. Nah. But if you look at it on paper, like I even went opponent to opponent. Like, here, John, Tito fought this guy, Chuck fought that guy.
Yeah,
like,
let Chuck knock out Babalu while we hand Tito to old Ken Shamrock.
Or Elvis Sinisek,
Yeah, Valashenko.
I thought Manchenko had a shot. Yeah, I thought he was old. He was shot. Yeah.
Thing is, in Chuck's defense, what's he supposed to say? Well, I mean,
but it was a genuine response. Like it really was. Nah, I don't think so. Like really?
But on the outside looking in, Tito. Here's the thing about Tito. Tito carried the UFC until Chuck and Randy were able to take his place.
Oh yeah. Okay. UFC 40 Vendetta. You got Tito and Ken Shamrock fighting.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell fights Babalu on the undercard. Absolute murderer. There's no way Babalu does not beat Tito. In my opinion, like just stylistically, Babalu hands Tito his lunch.
So you got to think about the state of the UFC at the time, from UFC 1820 when Zuffa bought it up until
around 30, UFC 30, right around there. Yeah.
Until Ultimate Fighter Season 1.
2005.
UFC was trying to keep, hemorrhaging money, trying to keep their head above water. The hottest ticket that they had until Chuck got up there was Tito.
Yeah.
Here's this Mexican-American guy that
speaks no English, speaks no Spanish.
He fireworks on his shorts in the arena. He drew a show. He was
good at marketing.
He was the perfect marketing child for the UFC to keep their head above water, as Chuck and Randy just fought their way to the top. They just destroyed people.
Let me counter this. So Chuck has got a guaranteed title shot. Like he's got one after UFC 40. He's already been given a word. He's got a title shot. Chuck says, okay, but I want to fight on UFC 40. And they respond with, well, if you lose your title shot. And Chuck said,
anyways,
I want to fight.
anyways. And they give him Babalu. Babalu.
Chuck was fearless. He just wanted to compete.
You don't make guys like that anymore, dude.
No, and this is what I'm saying. Like Tito, and I like Tito. I get a kick out of Tito. One time we're at Mandalay Bay, UFC there. Chuck's fighting on the card. Tito's fighting on the card. AFI is playing a concert in the same at Mandalay Bay. And it's like, God, I really want to see AFI, but I really want to watch Chuck fight. And Tito was outside talking to people. He's like 5 or 6 deep around him signing autographs. And me and a couple friends come walking by, and I'm about like 10, 20 feet away from him. He's 5 deep with people. And he stops what he's doing, yells, hey, Von Flue, hey, what's going on? And says hi. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the UFC or anything yet, but he took time and he said, hey, Von Flue, and he's 5 deep with fans just rifling
signing autographs. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's a great memory I have of Tito. I have a couple other ones that are, but for the most part, he would come into Slow, stay at the Fight Club house on our couch, train with us all weekend, go out, party, chase girls, and then go back down to Huntington Beach. He was a blast.
You know what? I gotta I got to agree. As much crap as Tito gets for, maybe his misuse of the English language,
abuse.
I mean, people do like to tease him quite a bit. The guy he consistently his entire career has gone out of his way to be nice to other human beings.
Well, he understands fans. Chuck explained it to me years ago. I told you we used to roll people a lot. Slow. And then he quit doing it. And I was like, hey, come on, let's go downtown and pick a fight. Bro, no, why? He goes, well, I'm going to give a fight away for free.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you think a little bit. Then we had a situation in Slow. This is kind of interesting. These two kids getting in a fight over some girl in front of Woodstock Pizza. One guy comes the other, he falls down, bumps his head on a curb, coma, 2 months later, dies.
Oh.
So here we are, we're professional fighters, and there's nobody in town that's going to whoop any of us. And we're taking advantage of people. And this is that lack of belt system. But that situation and a situation down in Mexico where I got shot at really changed my perspective of fighting. There's always somebody bigger around the corner with a gun, and you get in a fight. At the end of the day, I explain to my students now, what are you really trying to do? You and I get into a fight on the streets. You're trying to kill me. I'm trying to kill you back. That's the extreme of it. Next extreme down is you're trying to maim me. You break my arm, my knee, knock me out, bust me up where I can't function. Okay. The other one is I just want to beat you enough that you cry and crawl away and I win and I don't get hurt. But the end result that could occur is death. You get in a street fight, you could kill someone.
Yeah,
manslaughter.
People don't think about that. But I hit you just right. You fall down, bump your head on a curve, and end up in a coma because we're fighting over some stupid girl. Now you're going to jail.
Yeah,
and you gotta live with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Chuck explained that to me, and then the other thing explained to me was, the fans. If Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes are paid for 2 hours to sign autographs, 2 hours is up. You got 50 people in the line. Matt Hughes leaves. Chuck stays there and finishes signing for free.
Oof.
Think about it.
I've heard that about him.
Because Chuck understands that without the fans, nobody know who Chuck Liddell is. And without the fans, we wouldn't have a sport. We'd be glorified thugs on the street just brawling for fun.
And Matt always had other things going on. Like it was just like he was never really in the moment. Matt Hughes, it was always, all right, what's next? What's next? He's kind of one of those guys. So yeah, I can see that. So
you think about that contrast and compare there, right?
Yeah.
Chuck's fan friendly, Tito's fan friendly because they figured it out. The UFC's desperate for fans, and the only ways to get them is you got to sign those autographs because they're the ones buying the pay-per-views, buying the T-shirts, buying the concessions that's making UFC money so they can keep their head above water. Right. And so that's why when people nowadays, who am I nowadays? I'm 50.
You got a choke named after you, man.
Dude, what are you talking about?
I don't have a choke named after me.
There's Darce, there's Kimura, and then there's the Von Flue. What are you talking about, bro?
But what I'm getting at is I'm an old man and I'm walking on the street or walk somewhere and somebody goes, hey, Von Flue, hey, what's going on? Can I get a picture with you? Absolutely. I take a picture and then I shake their hand.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because you remember me, and that's pretty cool.
That's super cool.
That's respect right there. Yeah. You remember me. You took time out of your life to say, I watched your fights, and I thought you're cool, win or lose or whatever. Yeah, Von Flue Choke this, that, the other. But you know what? Can I get a picture with you? Absolutely. So I take this picture with them, and then I do the pose-off picture with them, and then I tell them, tag me on Facebook.
Hey, so what are you doing now? Like, so if somebody wanted to find you?
So I teach martial arts on the side. I just do private lessons for jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. I've got a lot better at kickboxing. I just wish I wasn't so old. And then I'm a solar consultant. I have a small solar company out here.
That's really cool. That's cool.
So I sell and lease solar.
Saving the planet.
No, I disagree with the saving the planet.
Do you?
saves money if it's done correctly. If you do it the right way and don't try to rip people off, it saves a lot of money.
That's cool.
Here's really quick about solar. You think about it, you think clean energy, but it takes a lot of diesel to mine those minerals, and then a lot of diesel to process those minerals, and a lot of diesel to ship those minerals or those panels across the sea. There's a big carbon footprint behind every panel.
Yeah.
So I don't buy into that garbage. I buy into, if I could save you money, let me help you.
Probably the exact opposite of what they want you to say.
Yeah.
100%, but I don't buy bullshit that people try to shove down your throat. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a realist. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to tell you what I think. If you don't like it, I don't care. It's what it is.
So at this point in your career, you don't see a lot of decisions. Like Chris Ellerton, you win by rear naked choke at 601. And then you're back at Cobra Fighting Federation. Erik Meaders.
Erik Meaders is a sleeper. He's got a bad record, but he fought some killers and has a win over Jeremy Williams.
Yep, Jeremy Williams.
So going into that fight, Mark Hall got the Cobra Fighting Federation 170-pound welterweight title up. It says, you versus Erik Meaders, because I'm 1-0 out there. And everybody's saying this guy is a beast. And I'm like, oh, God, what am I getting myself into? And I went out there and beat him with a leg lock, if I remember right. But, yeah, word on the street was he was a sleeper. He was tough. Even Mark was saying, man, this guy is tough. I wasn't supposed to beat him. Those Meader brothers were tough, and I wasn't supposed to win. But I found the way.
Mike, did we lose you?
No. Tony D'Souza made his debut on that card. And Aaron Brink was the
Aaron Brink.
event.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron Brink's a cool cat, man. He's a heavyweight guy.
Was,
yeah.
Rest in peace.
Oh, yeah. What am I missing on Aaron?
Aaron, you didn't know Aaron passed away.
He passed away.
Gosh.
Horrible drug addicts. Like at the end, dementia out, meth.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
kid
he had a sad ending.
his kid was like a school shooter. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he missed quite a bit.
This is why you guys are historians and have an MMA podcast.
Yeah. That's why he's the MMA detective.
So Aaron would fight, and he's a pretty cool cat. Fight out in Hawaii. He fought Cabbage, Korea, and he was the #1 rated heavyweight striker in California for a while. Aaron Brink. He got brought out to fight Cabbage out there, and whoever won that fight was going to go to the UFC, from my understanding. And Cabbage beat him. That's how Cabbage ended up in the UFC, not Aaron Brink.
Cabbage was a great male. I sent him a message. Yeah. He wasn't getting it like through Facebook. So, dude, there's like a thing where you got to play around a little bit. I was able to call him through Facebook, and he was able to read my message, and is just awesome. Doesn't give a shit about doing an interview.
That guy, my God, could take a punch.
Yeah.
As I'm watching the guy fight, it's like he's quote unquote what Hawaiians are known for. Just take a beating and dish one back out to you. Homer Simpson.
Simpson. Yep.
Yeah. If I were to recommend a Cabbage fight, it's him versus Butterbean 1. Cabbage said, "Yeah, I'm not taking him down," and Butterbean's going, "Yeah, you are going to take me down." Butterbean hit Cabbage so hard. No. Cabbage hit Butterbean so hard. Butterbean took his mouthpiece out, spit shards of his teeth out, put the mouthpiece back in, and proceeded to knock Cabbage out.
Wow. God, man.
Legit.
See, this is the problem with modern UFC. You have one pay-per-view a month. You have a show every week. I don't have time to keep up on everything the UFC is doing to know who's on that card. I can't buy a UFC card now. One, I could barely afford it, and UFC doesn't take EBT.
Huh.
but the problem is, on a 5-fight main card, I might know the main event, 2 fighters, and maybe 1 or 2 fighters on the undercard. 15 years ago, you knew every fighter on that card because you had the Pride fighters and you have the UFC fighters, and there's so far few between. You just knew the fighters. This is what was so great about Tito and Chuck and Matt and Randy and Rich Franklin and all these legends, because you could really get behind them because you knew who they were.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
Cabbage and what's his name that knocked him out in the UFC?
Tim Sylvia.
Orlovsky.
What?
Yeah, he got served a couple times. Tim Sylvia, Orlovsky.
Yeah. Orlovsky, yeah. You know, these guys, are legendary status. I don't, Tim's kind of a silly guy, but Orlovsky but he hit stupid hard. Orlovsky just a stud. But you get behind these fighters back then. Now you don't even know who's on the damn card.
Yeah, and it's one decision after another. And women's MMA has become unwatchable at this point. Yeah. Chuck Liddell versus Steve Heath was actually a real big fight. You and Cruz Gomez were in his corner, and so was Abe Baxter.
Irish Abe Baxter. Yeah, baby. Oh, God, that guy was a stud. Singing Abe.
What happened with him?
Tough life.
Yeah.
Tough life. And he ended up lung cancer, I think it was. Same thing with Aaron Brink,
Okay.
And he passed away as a hard passing, and it really sucked because that guy had the whole world in his hand. Great looking kid, stout, tough as nails, sponge, loved competing, could sing, or at least
stubborn. Yeah, stubborn.
Really could, just loved life and lived it to his fullest, and it just caught up to him. So, but
yeah, I've heard a few things. I've heard about him, but I didn't know exactly what took place. I heard real stubborn guy, funny, life of the party.
But I give you a good story about him. I'll give you the one I know. So we walk into the Library Lounge. That's the bar we all worked at. And it's like a slow night, like a Monday night. We all rolled in there. We'd go down looking for girls. We're just horny guys, and we go down there, and the bar was slow that night, maybe 15 people in there and a few girls. So I roll up to this chick and I start talking to her, and Abe comes up. Hey, bro, what's up, Abe? He goes, that's my lady. All right, no problem, bro. So I go about my business. About 5 minutes later, I'm talking to this other chick, getting ready to buy her a drink or something. Bro, hey, Jason, what? He kind of mans up on me. What? He goes, that's my chick. All right. So, sure as shit stinks. Third chick, I'm talking to this other girl. He rolls up, and I turn around, I go, what the F, Abe? Is every chick in this effing bar your girl? He looked at me like, dude, F off. It's like, my God, Abe. But that he was just so larger than life, just larger than life and a blast. God, WC 8, 7, 8, maybe WC 9. He fought for their middleweight title out there. I forget the kid's name that he fought. He would come out with a shirt and tie on and nerd glasses. Ring a bell?
Shirt, tie, nerd glasses.
Yeah, it just kind of looked like a nerd.
You talking about Matt Horwich? No.
Nah. I'd have to look it up, and I'm not going to look it up right now. But anyways, he got
Olaf?
No, not Olaf. That's John Pulowski.
Okay.
So anyways, Abe goes out there and just has this war with the guy. And I remember being ringside. I wasn't cornering. And Abe comes in and decks him with a hook to the body and hurt him. Oh my goodness. We're yelling, Abe, hit him body, go to the body. And we're screaming from the audience. And he ended up losing that fight. But he was that close to winning a WC world title. Oh. That close. And just such a stud. He got in there. He was spar with Chuck and hold his own with the upperweight guys. And
Jesus. Yeah, no thank you.
So you want to know how hard Chuck hits? 2003, I think it was. We just switched over to the pit. We're training over there, and I was the worst striker on the team. I was horrible. And hands down horrible. I was so bad that Cruz rolled up to me and said, Jason, I said, what? He goes, look, you're having problems. Do what I did. I go, what's that? He goes, when you're sparring, everybody's going to light you up, but get yours. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, they come in and hit you. Hit them. Tax them. Charge them. I call it charging a toll. You're going to cross this bridge to hit me, right? I'm going to charge you for it. You could hit me, but when you leave, I'm going to pop you with something. I'm going to let you know I was there. And Cruz taught me that. And that's where I started enjoying kickboxing better. And so anyways, 6 months down the road, Jhun has me spar with Chuck, and Chuck's going really easy on me. So I do something and I pivot around 180 around him. And Chuck throws a straight right. I have headgear on. We have 16-ounce gloves on. I do everything right to block it. I see it coming in. I just roll, cover. He hit me so hard. I was boom, whatever. And I shake it off, and then he keeps kicking me in the gut, and I fall down. So that ends that. Later that night, I end up over at Slow Kickboxing, and some guy that's fighting in the Olympics in my weight class, boxer, was in there, and one of the coaches said, hey, you want to go a round or two with them? I said, yeah, sure. I got in that boxing ring, and every time I took a step or took a shot, I felt my teeth chattering. I didn't know what it was. Chuck hit me so damned hard, even with all that protection on, he gave me a light concussion.
Oh, no.
With this straight right. A light concussion because I just, boom, And later that night, as I said, it's just, I felt this I couldn't describe it as anything else but my teeth chattering. Like every time I stepped, I felt awkward. I did okay with the boxer, but,
Right.
weird.
Yeah, you knew something was off. Yeah.
That's just how hard Chuck hits.
Wow. Another guy that hit really hard, too, that you fought was Ronald Jhun. October 11, 2000.
Stud. I'm begging. Back then, I was begging Paul. I was like, oh, man, I'm doing pretty good. I want a title shot. I want a title. And he goes, okay, fine, and gives me the U.S. title shot against Ronald Jhun. And that guy beat me up.
And think about Jhun. He's at this fight. He's coming off a decision loss to Erik Paulson. So anybody that goes a distance with Erik Paulson, especially in 2000, poof, you gotta be a pretty talented guy.
But back then, I just was ready to fight anybody. It's about winning and getting titles and showing off and getting girls, And I went out there, and John Hackelman actually wrapped my hands in that fight. That was my first interaction with John. And then I shot on John. I couldn't get him down, so I tried to pull guard, and I was working a half guard knee bar, or maybe a full guard trying to pivot a knee bar. And it was one of my moves, and I just couldn't get it. That guy just kept hitting me, and finally the ref stopped it. Yeah, I think he was scared that John was going to break his knuckles on my head. Huh. Yeah, but he ended up going to the UFC for a little while, so that was a lesson learned for me there.
Dude, Jhun was an absolute savage. He ended his career 3-15. His last 18 fights. His last 18 fights, he went 3-15.
Oh, geez. I got out in the right time.
Yeah, you did.
You should have waited.
I was going 1-1, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss. It's okay, time to quit.
Should have waited a few years to fight Jhun. You would have been all right.
Yeah. Hey, he's lost 20 in a row.
Yeah.
Who do you want? Jhun.
Yep.
It's time.
Yeah, Jhun was an absolute talented guy. And then Jim Walker.
Okay.
You had a little rough run right here.
Yeah, three in a row, and I quit fighting for a while. So the Jimmy Walker fight. So it's a 4-man tournament with Dennis Ash on the opposite side, and what's his name that went to the UFC, and myself versus Jimmy Walker. Jimmy is a Golden Gloves boxer, and so I love Chuck to death, and I could hear his voice on the opposite side of any cage. I just could hear what he's saying, and it worked for me. So anyways, I get Jimmy down and I lock in a inside heel hook, I think, a heel hook of some sort, and I wreck his leg. You know, I got his leg wrecked, ready to take home and mount on my wall, and he manages to get out of it. So we get separated, and he's limping. He's bad. Now, in retrospect, you got a guy that can't put pressure on his leg. What do? You shoot on him because his sprawl is going to fail, and he's not a ground fighter. You shoot, and then you take him down and finish the fight, right? That's what you should do. So I got him wounded pretty bad, and then I hear Chuck saying, "Bang with them, bang with them."
Oh no!
I'm out.
That's
Now
what
when I
Chuck would
throw
do.
jab,
Yeah, that's what
now
Chuck
when I
would
throw
do.
jabs,
Yeah.
I throw and I keep my shoulder up. With him, I come out and throw a double jab, boom, boom, and as I come back, his right hand came in, and he crucified me. I fell back just wide open and hit the canvas. Oh, just out cold. My poor dad and mom were in the arena. Oh man, freaked them out so bad. My dad started praying on the spot because he's a devout Christian guy. And but yeah, that guy hit like a brick. That guy owes me 15 minutes of my life. Jimmy
Wow.
up there, you owe me 15 minutes that I don't remember, you punk.
Yeah, Cruz Gomez, Gan McGee both got W's on that.
Yeah.
Dennis Ash, who was on the other side, you had a canceled bout against him, and Bob Ostovich, who is kind of a Hawaiian legend. You know, his daughter obviously fought in the UFC as well as Bare Knuckle.
Bob's such a great guy. We talk now and then, not often, but
Jesus is Lord fight team.
Yep.
I could go right now and get you my Jesus is Lord fight team t-shirt from back in that era.
That's awesome.
Both of those boys, after beating me, gave me t-shirts, and I still have one of them that's still there. And Bob, you know, I messaged him when his daughter hit the UFC and was doing really good, and just, oh man, that's cool. And he's such a humble, just good guy. And he caught me with an inside heel hook. But back then, I fought with wrestling shoes on.
Oh,
But you're a leg lock guy at this point.
Made a mistake.
See, you're smarter than that at this point. Wow.
I made a mistake. I shot on him. He stopped my takedown, and I kept trying, and I finally said, screw it. I'll just pull guard, and we ended up in a position where I could leg lock, and I went for an outside heel hook or leg lock, and he hit an inside heel hook, and I was being stubborn, focused on it, and all of a sudden I felt this like, oh shit, what the heck? And I had to tap to it. I mean, he rolled 180 my ankle. It's still, I got scars from it. You know, my ankle pops when I move it around, it goes click, click, click.
yeah.
But yeah, fair and square. You beat me fair and square, you know? I mean.
So you lose 3 in a row, and it's 3 finishes on top of that.
Yep.
Where's your 2 years off?
Yeah, where's your head at?
Screw this. I didn't want to fight in the first place. What the hell? Yeah, I got a winning record. I'm done. I just like hanging out for a couple years, just training.
Okay. So you never stopped training, because it also includes a canceled fight with Reggie Cardio. The October 6th. Yeah, you
that would have been a fun fight. Oh gosh. But then again, I mean, you know, what if I won? What if I lost?
So were you teaching at the time still?
Oh yeah. We didn't stop training. We're all gym rats.
Okay.
You know, the difference between like the crew I was with in that era versus the modern era of guys is I can't keep guys in the gym or consistent. Back then, everyone was saying, hey, go home, leave, go take a shot, go home, come back tomorrow. They had to kick us out, but yet now I can't keep guys in. It's the weirdest thing. And my philosophy is it all comes down to the Ultimate Fighter. It saved the UFC. It saved tap out. It's the greatest thing that ever happened in MMA because it turned everything around, but it's the worst thing that happened in MMA. You know, Charles and Angelo and all of them tap out. They're finally about ready to file bankruptcy. Zuffa, Dana White, and Fertitas were looking at exit strategy, which is basically
they were shopping at this time. What we're talking 2003. That rumor was that they were starting to shop. Yeah,
they're ready to get out. And they had a last ditch effort, the Ultimate Fighter, and it paid dividends. It saved them. But the problem with the show is it showed everybody how to train. It shows you what it's like to be a professional fighter.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true, dude. It actually revolutionized the way like these mid-level to lower tier gyms actually trained. You are 1,000% correct.
It's one of the points in MMA history. There's a few of them, but this is one of the big ones. It's probably the biggest. Zuffa buying the UFC. That's a big one. The next big one was that. And the problem with it is everybody and their mother, after watching that, said, oh, I can manage fighters, I could train fighters, or I could be a fighter, and I'm going to be a superstar. Not realizing that, in order to train fighters, you got to be a fighter. You got to understand fighting. You got to understand ground fighting and stand-up fighting.
Dude, it's so true. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be a jerk, but John Hagelman does not understand ground fighting. He just doesn't. He's a striker. You got to understand all these components. You got to understand that takedown offense versus takedown defense dictates a fight. If you can't take Chuck Liddell down, he knocks you out. If you take Chuck Liddell down, you could ground and pound him and beat him. Randy Couture, Chuck 1.
Or hold him. Yeah, hold him down.
Randy Couture, Chuck 2 and 3. Randy couldn't get him off his feet. Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz 1 and 2. Tito could not get Chuck off his feet, therefore he went to sleep. He lost. The problem is you had all these people that think they could manage and train. Just everybody wanted to train people and manage people, and everybody thinks they could fight and they're going to make millions. Everybody thinks. Now, I've had a lot of people think that I'm wealthy. I have money. I work my butt off for what little I have these days, and I'm very thankful for it. I have a lot more than 90% of the world.
Can I set the table here? I got it. Dude, you just opened up a can of worms with this. Okay. Sure. This is fantastic. So he's right. Here, right. No. Jason, you're 100% correct. At this time, people saw like training technique and they just adopted it as if it were their own. And it allowed some people to kind of fake the funk in regards to like their understanding of the sport. And then there was people like, I'm going to say the name, Greg Jackson. Dude, Greg Jackson, one of the greatest trainers. Brilliant guy. I am not doubting any of that. Just let me preface before I say this. Greg Jackson never did an MMA fight, never did a jiu-jitsu bout, never was really belted, and created his own MMA system. It was like Gaiju Jitsu. He was like a video game clerk that literally watched The Ultimate Fighter. This is my perception, or other people fighting, even though he was cornering people maybe a year. He was cornering people right around this time, but right around The Ultimate Fighter is when he really advanced, and it was on the back of Diego Sanchez. But he's got no athletic background. So it's like he's one of those guys that just kind of was able to I'm not going to say fake the funk, but he got there through cross the finish lines under an unusual path.
So
there goes my rant.
Yeah, but that's a unique situation. That's very unique. You got in nature, you have extremes.
Yeah.
Right. You got your constant, your norm, and then you got extremes no matter what. So there's always something that's going to break the rule one way or the other. And Greg Jackson's that.
It's weird.
It worked for him.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks that you're going to make. Oh, there's my little girl. She wants to see me. But everybody thinks that.
Sorry. You're going to make millions. You're going to make millions. Yeah.
The most I ever made was fighting Conor Lee. That's $15K. And
that's still not enough.
Yeah, he got 15 and 15 for that fight. I got 15. And, it's just, the money's not there unless you're in the top 10 in the world, right? Preferably in the upper weight classes.
Okay. What pulls you off the bench again? Because you 2001, your last loss to Ostovich. And then in August of 2003, like you wait 2 years. What makes you come off the bench?
I was pissed off at life.
Okay.
Bad breakup.
Bad breakup. All right.
Angry. Life's just not where I want to be. Just mad. Just angry at everybody and everything. I hated everybody and everything at that point. I was just angry.
Okay. But up until this point, there's no Von Flue choke. Doesn't exist.
No.
Where does that come in?
All right. So 2003, I get flown out to Michigan to teach jujitsu to the Kihon fight team, Kihon karate school out there, a bunch of strikers. Al Joslin, who's where he's from, and he's a promoter out here in California, a good friend of mine. And he knew I was just, my mind was, I was mad. So he set something up to have his main guy out there bring me out. They put me out for quite a few weeks, and I taught jiu-jitsu. So on the way out there, all right, so a quick side story. I had to spar with Dwayne Bang Ludwig at the pit, and we got full sparring gear on, and the guy threw a round kick and landed just above my shin pad and made me fall down and limp. And I'm thinking, oh man, maybe I tore or just bad bruise. So anyways, I tape it up. I go out to Salt Lake City. My sister and one of my brothers lives out there, and I'm going to fly out to Michigan from there. I go by Pedro Sawyer's school.
Pedro Sauer or Pedro Sawyer? Okay.
Sauer.
Okay.
Pronunciation. I've been hit in the head.
That's okay. Yeah.
Sauer. And he's there, and I tell him Chuck Liddell's team's slow, and he lets me on the mat for free, even loans me a gi. Now I'm there
for setup. That's a setup.
So I'm there for a couple hour class, right? My calf is just wrecked, and I remember just wrecking shop on his blue belts and maybe his purples. And the two things I remember from that 2 hours is, one, at the end of class, doing pull-ups. He says, they say, take your lapel off, throw it over the bar, and do pull-ups with your lapel, grip strength.
Yeah.
The other thing that I remember is he shows this counter to a guillotine choke from inside guard, where you just come over, walk it in, put so much pressure that they got to release the guillotine and loosen their guard up. And I like that.
It was almost like a modified can opener.
Sure.
Okay.
You stack the guy, you're in
but you're in a guillotine. Yeah.
Pressure.
Okay.
Pressure in. And it's a lot of pressure on their neck plus the lower back stack, and they'll let go. And I kind of like this. There's something I liked about it. My philosophies on going to seminars and stuff is, and when I teach is, I do a seminar, I tell everybody, I'm not trying to change anything you're doing. I'm just going to show you some cool stuff. Maybe it'll help you. What's success here? Well, if I'm doing a 3-hour seminar, I need you to take one thing per hour that you like, that's going to enhance your game, change your game, or make your game better, that you can play with and make your own. You don't got to learn everything I'm showing. You just have to see something per hour that's worth what I paid. And that's how my choke came along. I like that defense. So I go out to Michigan with these guys, show them a bunch of basic jiu-jitsu for a month. I play around with this, and I figure out how to do this from half guard. So I come back to San Luis Obispo. My leg heals up. August, I fight.
Wait. Before we get too sidetracked, did you see Mark Schultz at all when you were working out with Pedro Sauer? Because that's the time.
If I did, I don't remember.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
No.
I'm a Schultz.
I don't remember
fan.
anybody besides Pedro letting me.
Fair enough.
So I come back home. I played around with this and choked some guys out with this from half guard, and I hit everybody on the team except for Chuck with it. And everybody's saying, that was BS. It only works for you. And in WC 7 and 8 in August and October that year, Chris Irvine and what's his name?
Nick Gallardi.
I put them both to sleep from half guard with this choke.
Yeah. It's listed as an arm triangle. And Nick Gallardi was from Victory. Here, Gallardi was listed as an arm triangle, but I watched it. It's
Yeah.
clearly nobody knew what it was.
Yeah. I had to tell the referees out, both of those guys.
Yeah.
You watch their
you
leg
did.
go limp and you go, oh, he's out. I had the perfect view to watch their leg.
And Chris Irvine was Practical Fight Team.
More of a stand-up guy.
Yeah. And dude, okay, hey, hold up. We can't let this go. October 17th, 2003, WEC, you beat Chris Irvine by the Von Flue choke. It's the second time we've seen it.
Yeah.
One of the, in my opinion, top three, this is probably number one for me, greatest fight ever to take place is on this card. Brian Sleeman versus Chris Leben.
Yeah.
Oh, slugfest right there.
And Leben did 2 or 3 groin shots in order to avoid getting knocked out. Sleeman is so mad, he leaves the ring and he's on the walkway, and the crowd is chanting, "Let them fight. Let them fight." And then he walks back in thinking, there's no way they're going to let this go. You know what I mean? It was stopped already. And then they restart the fight and Leben knocks him out.
No commission.
No commission, dude. You guys get on Fight Pass. Get on Fight Pass. Sleeman versus Leben, greatest fight ever.
Sleeman had that mullet. Everybody called him Mulletron. Just tough as nails, man. He knocked our guy Jason Pratt out up at IFC in a ultimate kickboxing fight. You know, is it a cage kickboxing? And beat up Jason Pratt. So
Sean Liddell is also on that card.
Yeah, he won. But
Lost.
No, he won on that card.
Did he win?
Then he lost up at Eagle Mountain.
Okay.
So,
what the fuck is wrong with my research?
So the Von Flue choke is a modified arm triangle choke. So if you hop over to the opposite side, you got the choke locked up, right? You hop on to the other side and sit through, you have an arm triangle choke. It's just a modified arm triangle choke.
Right.
Think about it.
Well, you're saying it's just a modified arm triangle choke. We're calling it we're calling it the Von Flue choke.
We absolutely.
Yeah.
I just figured out how to do it from an angle that was very unique, and it took me years to figure out it's a modified arm triangle choke.
So
it's a crossbody arm triangle choke, but there's tricks to setting it up, and there's tricks to activating it.
Dude, what I really like is like you trap the arm for the guillotine, so they really got to kind of pull their hand out, and you're so tight with your lock that it's just like they're kind of screwed. Yeah,
you're kind of using your shoulder and arm to trap their arm.
Their arm is in there,
and most of the time they go unconscious because by the time it hits, you don't got time to tap because your arms are in weird positions.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. It's a great move.
Yeah. Here, I'll plug this. If anybody wants a seminar, there's other tricks I got. I could hit it without an arm over, a guillotine. You know, it's just you got to play with stuff, right? That's how I get the choke out.
How do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of you if they want a seminar?
Just hit me up on Facebook. Go to jasonvonflue.com. Takes you to my Facebook page. I'm super easy to find. There's only one me out there. You know, and just message me. I respond to anybody.
You do. You definitely did. You were good about it. Yeah, no, for sure.
I could be a jerk, but I'm pretty good about responding.
It depends on what time you're. If it's right when you get up, yeah.
Yeah. Don't talk to me
midday.
I need a half gallon of coffee at least. But the choke was, I take this information I gathered that I liked. I saw something I liked in that guillotine counter. And then I just played with it for 6 weeks, you know, and that's where I get the foundation of my logic on seminars and such. If I go to a seminar, I'm not looking for a wealth of information. I'm looking for one thing per hour that I really want to use.
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah.
And retain that, because if you try to retain 5 things per hour, the brain doesn't work that way.
No.
Right.
You know, that's why college classes are only an hour to an hour and a half long. You just can't process that much information. So.
You also ran in a 4-2 Mac Danzig, April 20, 2004 Gladiator Challenge.
Draw.
Dude, Danzig is as tough as nails. Yeah,
draw.
Yeah.
2 5-minute rounds. I won the first one. and I overtrained for the fight, and my legs went numb in the second round, and he dominated me. And
Yeah, you had Mount in round 1, and then he had your back in round 2.
yeah, we couldn't finish each other. So here's the crazy thing about that. You watch that fight. If you can find that fight.
I've watched it like 3 times. It's on Fight Pass.
Last 10 seconds of round 1 or so, I had my Von Flue choke locked up. 10-second clicker hits. Cecil Peoples, and God bless Cecil. He's such
brilliant,
a
brilliant combat sports mind. Never controversial. Go ahead.
I love Cecil to death, but the same thing happened with Misha Tate. Had a sub locked in, 10-second clicker hits. He breaks us and stands us back up. To this day, I tell you, I would have put Mac to sleep. To this day, Mac will tell you it wasn't even close. And that's just
you should listen to our Mac Danzig interview. I think he does say that in there.
I watched researching your guys' podcast. I kind of flipped through it quite a bit. I watched the Hackelman one, some of the Chuck one, and somebody else's. So, but and that's fair. I mean, it's all about opinions, and that's how he feels. This is how I feel, and it's not personal. I think Mac's a hell of a guy. He won the Ultimate Fighter. He did a lot better in UFC than I did. I mean, that's what it is. But we had a draw.
Dude, great fight. And it aged well too. Like that fight, it's like you see that on your record, like, dude, that's a good one. I got to watch that.
So crazy about the fight is, fight's over. I'm over in my corner. We both get draw. He walks out, and I stop at the cage. My legs are so numb. A corner says, "Come on, let's go." I go, "I can't move my legs." They looked at me kind of funny. And it took a second, and I said, "Help me down." And they had to, Cruz had to help me get down the stairs. So I go back to the staging area, and I'm sitting there. I'm just like, just this full adrenaline drop. I just like, oh, I'm useless. All of a sudden, here comes Mac. "Hey, Von Flue." And I pop back up. "Hey, what's going on, buddy?" Great fight. Boom. He walks out.
I respect that. I respect that. No. That's what you're supposed to do. You did the right thing.
The adrenaline pop hit, and then it just dumped again.
Let's talk about the backstage. Eddie Ruiz and Bobby Hoffman almost got into a fight. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, yeah,
where?
It was at that event.
No. Bobby Hoffman and who?
Eddie Ruiz. 155-pound Eddie Ruiz, steroided out 200 and some odd pounds Bobby Hoffman, and Ruiz was not backing down. Yeah. You know what? I think that's when you guys were in the cage.
I headlined that show, so I was just back in my own little world, and Mac and I were the headline on that card. So that was my first headline, and so I don't know what happened.
Let me pitch this to you, dude. So in my notes, I've watched this fight like 3 times. I believed that Cecil Peoples thought that Mac was out, and that's why he stood you up, and then he realized Mac wasn't out. Was it the clacker, or was it that?
Watch it again, and it's 10-second clacker hit, and
I can see that.
I had it sunk in pretty dang good, but Cecil had me come up, and then I dropped right back down, and he said, "Oh, go," and I couldn't lock back in at that point.
No.
And in Mac's defense, that guy was tough as nails. Maybe I wouldn't have got him with it. You just don't know. You can't go back and change it. It's just what it is.
Right.
In my head, if it stayed in, he goes to sleep like everybody else.
Nick Davanzo, you hit him with the Von Flue choke?
No. Arm triangle choke from guard.
From guard?
No, sorry. Arm triangle choke from underneath mount.
Okay.
Wow. Nick Davanzo, man, I don't want to talk too much crap. So I go down to key in a cage to help Al Joslin corner Anthony Ruiz down in Saboba. And I get down there, and I have one of my favorite things in the world, chocolate dipped vanilla ice cream cone. Oh, yeah. And I'm in the back of a casino, in a smoky casino, eating this, playing cards of some sort. I get a phone call from Al. I go, "Oh, God, he wants me to fight." Nah, whatever. I walk out, and here's Terry Treblecock and Al Joslin at the front door. I said, "Oh, God." Looked at him. I go, "Who do you want me to fight?" "Nick Davanzo." "What's his record?" 2-0. "Oh, why?" Why do you want me to fight him? His opponent backed out. 2-0, huh? All right. Let me call Liddell. I call Chuck. Yeah, bro, go ahead. Because I'm not going to fight without permission, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just not going to do that. Chuck okays it. So I run and buy a mouthpiece. I happen to have gym shorts and a few other things with me. So I'm walking around backstage, and Shoney Carter's there, and Shoney Carter and I are really good friends. And back then, we just got to know each other a little bit. But I'm bouncing around a little bit, and there's Nick DeVonzo. So, hey, Nick. Hey, I'm Jason Von Flue. I guess we're fighting tonight. And shake my hand, and he kind of like, I don't know if he shakes. It's like, oh, whatever. So I hear your records are 2-0. Right on, man. He's like, yeah, whatever. He goes, so what's your record? And he's this really cocky bastard. And I turn around as I'm walking around. I was at 10-3. And I take 2 steps. He goes, what was your name? Because he's going to SureDog to look it up. And so the problem is my lower back just sucked that week. And so I go and I get out there, and the fight was 51 seconds, if I remember right. Touch glove. I kind of walked a little, kind of semicircled around. He came in. I drew a left head kick at him, backed him off. And he's a little shorter, stockier guy. And he plows into me, you know, kind of like Alex Kerr-Likes. It's just short, stocky, hard to take down guy. Plows into me. My back hurts. I fall down, and he mounts me. And I locked him up in an arm triangle choke from underneath.
Wow.
Wall mounted. Get him locked up in it. He starts to fade, roll him over, and finish from top. So fast forward to UFC, probably Ultimate Fight Night, whatever, after my Von Flue choke. Comes up, Von Flue. I don't even know who he is. Hey, what's going on? He goes, hey, I'm Nick DeVonzo. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Let's go again. Let's fight again.
Oh.
I was like, dude, go get a UFC contract, you know? But, you know, he's one of those guys. I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy. And, you know, Nick, if you watch this, I'm sure you're a great guy. It's just back then we're all young and cocky. And, you know, that was just how I took it at the time. You know, and again, I'm sure he's a great guy. I have nothing against him. And it's just a funny story to tell. It's just how it is. You know, so, but that's how that went down.
There's a lot of unique things about your career, and one of which is how you got onto the Ultimate Fighter season 2.
Alternate.
Yeah.
I mean, you were an alternate. So were you like secluded, or did they just call you at the gym and go, dude, get down here? What was the process to get on the show?
So Ultimate Fighter 1 hit, and it got announced season 2 is going to be welterweights and heavyweights. So we put together a demo tape, a VHS, and mailed it in. And on the envelope, I wrote Chuck Liddell team, right? Yeah. So they watched it, and I was one of 50 guys that got flown out there. Now, 1,500 people applied for that welterweight weight class, and 50 of us got flown out, including Cruz Gomez, Poppy Martinez, a few other guys. I think Jake Shields too. And we got flown out, and on the first couple of days, they start kicking people out, and you're locked in this hotel room over at the Station Casino right off the freeway, and you're not allowed to leave. They bring you 3 squares a day, and they bring you snacks. So I brought a laptop, DVDs, and I would work out in the room, and I'd turn up the shower as hot as it could get and steam the room out and do sprints back and forth and just kind of train a little bit. I stayed in that room for a whole week.
Ugh.
I did
good training for COVID,
right? I guess, huh? I guess that's why I did well in COVID. I don't know.
Yeah,
flipping people off and refusing to wear masks. But fuck you, America, have choices and rights. But so the first day I was in the room the whole day. Second day I got out for once, and I got out once a day for a couple of days, and for interviews. And then you got a couple of interviews on Wednesday, a couple on Friday, and then Thursday, and then you got sent home Friday. And I made it the whole week. And I remember being this long board table, you know, big table, and you got Dana right here, and and then you got all the a lot of the producers for the show, and I'm sitting there, and I told them, I'll win your damn show for you, and I'll put ratings on. They said, oh, we're not worried about ratings. I said, what world you're not worried about ratings? Then finally somebody asks, do you do steroids? I go, do I look like I do steroids? And I was talking crap, and looking back, I go, God, I wish I would have stood up, walked across that long ass table, sat down right in front of the guy on the far side, and told him, you put me on the show, I'll win it, and just talk some shit, because I would have been just badass to stand up, walk around across this long table and sit down, but I didn't. So anyways, you fast forward to the week before filming, and I'm constantly calling into the producers, the connection I have, and they tell me, yeah, Jason, we got our 9 people. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I did what any mature grown man would do at that point. I fell down on my bedroom floor and cried. And my mom had passed away on January 1st of that year, 5:30 in the morning. And so I called my dad, and this is around June, and called my dad and talked to him. Then I put my big boy pants on and bought a bottle of whiskey and went over to a bunch of friends' houses, and we played a big, massive poker tournament. So, I just went back to regular training and just partying. And I wasn't a hard party guy, but, we all drank. I just wasn't a hard party guy.
Yeah.
Right? I kept away from that garbage.
That's smart.
I had good people around me that told me, you're going to go somewhere. People are going to offer stuff to you. Keep away from it. And I said, okay. And I listened. So anyways, I go to training and everything. And so we're a week and a half into filming. It's a Wednesday night. I just worked a day shift bartending. I'm 5 minutes away from making the best Patron margarita you'll ever have, because I won't drink other people's margaritas. I like mine. And I get this phone call from an 8805 area code. I said, well, that's either my younger sister or the UFC. So I answer it, and it's the UFC. And they're like, hey, blah, 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 you interested in coming on the show? I said, yeah. What happened? Well, we'll let Dana tell you. So Dana gets on the phone. I go, what happened? He goes, we got a bunch of fucking pussies on here. You know how Dana talks. F this, F that. Oh, what happened? Oh, you'll see when you get here. So you want to go? I said, yeah. I go, hold on, Dana. He goes, what's the matter? I got to go break up a fight. He's like, don't get hurt. I was like, this is what I do. Go outside, clack, clack, boom, boom. Come back like 30 seconds, a minute later. You okay? Dana, this is what we do. So I go, how long do I got? He goes, 24 hours. You fly out Thursday night. So I go, all right. So that night I hit Pismo Beach and was doing wind sprints because, I just being my normal self, not prepping for a fight. You train hard, but you drink and party and chase girls. Yeah. Notice the consistency with the chasing girls?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a theme.
Yeah. And, fiend. So wind sprints, midnight on Pismo Beach. Obviously, I didn't have that margarita. And next day I went in. I normally blue-blacked my hair when I fought, but I got this wild hair and said, you know what? Just go ahead and do my eyebrows too. Oh, it looked like shit. That's why Matt hated me. He thought I was this party cocaine guy. And so they flew me out. I was told the contract said, if you disclose information, it's a $5 million penalty. Which I'm thinking, well, no problem. that sucks. I got 4.9 million of it, but that last 100,000, I don't know. Yeah. Come up with that. I don't know. So I had to tell my best friend at the time what was going on, Justin Frazier, and I oversaw my dad's well-being at the time. He was on Social Security and had mental health issues, so not bad, but I handled his money. So I had to leave somebody in charge of my dad's affairs for the month, and then I had to tell my dad what was going on because I could just exactly disappear. Yeah,
yeah, you have the cops call.
So I make a phone call to Chuck. Hey, Chuck, what's going on? He goes, all right. He goes, what's going on, Von Flue? I said, listen, I got this family emergency in Texas. I'll fly out. I'll be gone for about a month. Can you loan me $2,000? Yeah, bro, that's cool. Said, leave it for Justin Frazier. He'll take care of everything. He said, okay. What I didn't know was he's sitting right there next to Dana. And when Dana was complaining about everybody getting injured and missing weight and stuff, he's griping at Chuck, and Chuck goes, "Hey, get Von Flue." He goes, "Von Flue?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Might not win the show, but he'll make it count." And that's why I got the call. So Friday morning, I walked onto that show, and what you saw is what you got. Flip-flop, tore up pants, and a T-shirt, and a cocky attitude.
Yeah, you came in like a rock star. You for sure did.
Cocky, arrogant, bold, and cold.
Were you flipping off the treadmill?
No.
That was right? Me. That's my
flipped off Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes too. Wait. Let me just slide this. This is really important. All right. So The Ultimate Fighter season 1, they film it. They wait almost an entire year. Like it's like 10 or 11 months before it's aired. And then they got to wait the duration of the weeks. And they couldn't fight or do anything fight related during that waiting period prior to the episodes being aired.
Yeah.
What kind of duration did you guys have?
Okay, so season 1 was crazy because you had a bad not ringworm, but staph infection breakout. So that season took
that was season 1?
Yeah, took 3 or 4 months to film because they had to take a big break. It was rough. But season 2 was, oh man, it was smooth how they did it. And as soon as we got off the show, the first episode was like a month and a half later.
Okay, so it was quick. It was a quick turnaround. Okay. Okay.
So that worked out pretty good. It just sucked, you come back home, I'm busted up. I mean, I think 70 stitches on the show. The Gurgel fight, I took stitches here, here, and here, triple stitched by a plastic surgeon. 40 stitches in that first fight. This reopened by accident from Keith Jardine while doing jiu-jitsu. He hit me with an elbow, resplit it. There goes another 11 or whatever stitches, or 20 stitches. I think 19. And then after my fight with Stevenson, I had this reopened, so I got another 11 stitches. So I took 70 stitches on that damn show. And you come home, you're cut up. I wasn't exactly hiding my equipment and gear I got off the show. And my roommate, he's like, "Where were you?" "Family emergency in Texas. I told you this already." I'm very believable, know, because I mean, my word's my word. And so about 2 weeks in, I'm on a heavy bag and I'm beating the heavy bag. This is after my Gurgel fight. And Dana walks up to me and goes, "Hey, Von Flue." I go, "Yeah, what's up? What's up, Dana?" And I'm hitting the bag. He goes, "Did you fucking tell anybody on the show?" I said, "Nope." "Really?" I said, "Nope." "Why?" He goes, "John fucking Hankelman just called me." I said, "Okay, what do you want?" He goes, "He's looking for you." "Oh, what'd you tell him?" He's like, "I don't know where the fuck you are." This is Dana talking now. F word here, F word that. So I don't cuss a lot, but when it comes to Dana White, I gotta give you the Dana impression. And if you're nice, I'll show you my Forrest Griffin impression.
Yeah. Wow. So Dan, here, let's talk about Gurgel. You were here. Rich Franklin is his coach. Gurgel is actually Rich Franklin's coach in real life at this time. And Franklin is the coach of the team. And
he's the world champ.
He's a world champion. But Matt Hughes is real tight with those guys and is friends with Gurgel, probably shared a lot of mat time with him. And here, the first round, you did really well. I thought,
he beat me up. He busted me up.
Gurgel had a real tight rear naked choke. It may have burned his arms out doing it. Okay. Second, it's a stand-up round. Gurgel buckles his knee. Matt Hughes is giving good advice in between the corner at this time. And then in the third round, when it's following the same kind of rhythm, Hughes is yelling for you to hit a takedown, the exact opposite thing that you should do.
Well, what won me the fight was my clinch. I was bigger, as a bigger fighter, taller. His knee was hurt. I was exhausted because, I wasn't there for a week and a half of training. I wasn't fully conditioned like these guys were. I had to adapt on the spot. You're talking about the treadmill thing. At the gym, we'd be doing stuff like with heavy bags rolling around with them. I just get angry at the damn bag, flip it off. I bit a bag once. I just like mentality. So me flipping the treadmill off, I couldn't beat the treadmill. I didn't know how to run on it. Thank you, Mike Whitehead, for teaching me how to run on a treadmill. Heavyweight fighter that could run 15 miles per hour. I couldn't do 10, but he taught me how to do it. And thank you for that. But, that's my way to motivate myself. And he took it as this cocky, arrogant showboating. He thought I was just party guy. So with the Grugel fight, my clenched knees is what won that fight for me. Peter Welch, the boxing coach, he made a comment the first week I was there when I sparred Luke Kumo, who just destroyed me for 10 rounds. He says, listen, if somebody's better at something than you, mimic them. Do what they're doing.
Solid advice.
So I started mimicking Grugel a little bit, and I figured his system out in the fight. And then the clenched knees, and we're both exhausted. So by the time we got to the third round, we're both just worn out. He had to be in agony with that knee. My conditioning wasn't where it needed to be. And I just out attritioned.
You can say your conditioning wasn't needed to be. It was better than his.
Yeah. That's what it is. I won fair and square. Now, what sucked about the fight was I'm a leg lock guy. And I told Matt in the back, I said, no, I'm just going to drop in a leg lock. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, I don't know if he's being smart saying because George is so good in jiu-jitsu, but I knew he had a bad will. And yeah, so.
But Matt and him were definitely friends. Like I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Chicago, and I traveled around this time. I was doing maybe 25 events a year, like just traveling all around. Gurgel, Franklin, Hughes, they were close. To pretend that they didn't have a relationship is wrong.
Oh, Matt was just giving him grief because that's what you do with your boy.
Yeah.
I was supposed to lose that fight. Matt didn't give a damn.
I mean, did you watch the episode where like
I watched the whole series?
So you're getting stitched up, and he literally gives an interview that even if Von Flue lost, he wouldn't even care or consider it a loss. Like
his wording was.
He's playing cards. He's playing cards in the locker room while you're getting stitched up.
Yeah, he his point of view was, it was a loss. I was, wasn't afraid to have something like that. He didn't give a crap. It's what it was. I really liked training for that first 2 weeks with him because his conditioning was just insane. It sucked, but it made me mentally stronger. It really did. And, I'm thankful for that. And we were playing cards before the fight, not after the fight, if I remember right. I was really upset after the fight getting stitches. And I got even asked, is like, why are you so upset? You're crying. Never got stitches before. I've had a lot of stitches in my life. I went through a window while bouncing once and got stitches right here. I still got a scar. My mom died January 1st of that year. I never dealt with it. Of all my older brothers and sisters and my younger sisters, I was the only one that didn't cry at the funeral or at all because somebody had to be strong for them.
Yeah.
So when I got on the show, the last thing I told my mom, before she went, I told her, I said, I'm not going to get hurt fighting because she's always worried about me getting hurt. First freaking fight, I take 40 stitches. I mean, I'm busted up. It's the one thing I told my mom I wouldn't do, and I go and do it, And it was hard, So, and that was the first time where I really compartmentalized my mom's death. It was a massive heart attack, and I hadn't dealt with it yet, and I had to deal with it on that show. In an interview that part of the interview in the black room was never shown, and they got me in tears on that one. And then, while getting after, knowing I had to go get stitches, it just sucked, I was dealing with a lot with that, but
no, you were able to release.
So much stronger.
Yeah. You're finally able to release. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish I would have done that before the fight or the show, but training with Matt is amazing. And it's just his mentality. It's like, if you can't do it today and you get this far today, tomorrow you go further and then further and further. And that's something I brought home with me.
Did you two ever connect afterward?
No. On the Ultimate Fighter finale, I had a bad staph infection on my left knee, so I couldn't fight on it. And we talked, we were cool. But it's
Okay.
just, and I told him, I said, look, the flipping off thing, they tricked me. They asked me 3 different times trying to get a reaction out of me. Hey, Matt traded you. Angry about that? No. Why not? Oh, I talked to him in the bathroom where no cameras are and told him, I said, Matt, you don't like me. He goes, it's not that. I go, dude, you don't like me. It's fine. You just got to respect me and train me. That's all I'm asking. Just train me like everybody else. You don't got to like me. I don't care. And then
I respect that.
I go,
Yeah.
now, right now, is 4 welterweights to 1. They're going to trade one of us. I go,
So
and
you knew.
he goes, well, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. I go, it's going to happen. I go, look, I know you didn't choose me. I got stuck on your team, and I'm thankful for that. But I totally understand if you trade me. I was curious how much Rich Franklin trained.
You know
And
what?
I knew he's going to trade me anyways. I mean, why wouldn't he?
You know what, dude? By you handling it that way, I
What?
respect that. I respect that. I
Yeah, so I
respect
caught
that.
him off camera and I told him that. I planted that seed right away because I just figured, well,
You're there to learn.
Rich is different and there's 2 world champions, so you might as well get the best of both worlds. And that was my
Smart.
logic on it. And it was fun. I got over there, my conditioning was through the roof by the time I acclimated. And then I'm just learned what I could from Rich. And first conversation I had with him, I said, look, I know George and you are best friends. He goes, this isn't personal. I'm going to treat you like everybody else. I shook his hand and said, okay.
Dude,
And
Franklin's always been that way. He's
he
always
did.
been that way. Dude, he's legit. Yeah, he's a legit good guy. Real good guy.
Yeah, he wasn't a jerk about it at all. He was quite fair. And yeah, it was fun. So.
Yeah, and Joe Stevenson, you lose by armbar. And then,
Yeah, last 10 seconds, 5 seconds of that fight. Ugh.
yeah. And you know what's kind of crazy is even though you're on the Ultimate Fighter, if you lose this fight, you were supposed to fight on Rumble on the Rock. Like it wasn't. They only really kind of took the winners, and then eventually it was like, maybe we should kind of give everybody a shot. You're supposed to fight Ibanez on Rumble on the Rock, and then the UFC says, no, 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 we're going to use them, and you become famous. January 16, 2006. UFC Fight Night 3, The Ultimate Fighter Season 1 versus The Ultimate Fighter Season 2. Alex Karalexis from that's from Team City Dog, Mark Delagrade.
I could not get that little sawed off bastard off his feet.
He was winning that whole fight, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's a better striker than me at that point for sure. I felt I was pretty surgical with my jab, but he was out banging me and I couldn't figure out how to get him off his feet. So in the 3rd round, I just made a decision. I'm going to just, pull guard. No, I'm going to shoot on him. I decided I'm going to just do a crappy double leg. So he will take a guillotine on me and maybe he'll bite. I'm going to bait him for it. And he did. And that's how I landed that choke. I shot a bad double leg. I put my neck out there and he wrapped it up. And as soon as he fell backwards, I just shot the legs past, hit a side bound, locked it up. Because I couldn't get him off his feet. His center of gravity was just solid. And
He was a scrappy dude, bro. Alex Karalexis is tough. I agree.
I thought I was winning that fight.
And like, if you look at his background, the guy was doing landscaping and plumbing. Like, he's a blue collar guy. Like, that guy's never had anything handed to him. Karalexis is tough.
Yeah. And so, I just, I fed him that double leg and he went for it. So it worked out to my advantage there. So, yeah, tough.
Let me give you something off topic. You fought Luke Stewart.
Yeah.
Luke Stewart trained with Jake Shields, a former training partner of yours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. I was curious if there was something personal there. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Luke, I had an injury going into that fight. Pretty bad injury going into the fight. And I just lost to Kung Lee, and they had given me a 3-fight contract.
It's at
So
173 too, 173 pounds.
yeah,
Is that him or you?
who? Kung?
No, 173 pounds for Luke Stewart.
Yeah, and was it? I don't know. I came in underweight at 165.
Yeah,
And
it was him then. He missed weight.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah.
Yes, they owe me some money. So but yeah, I just had a injury and my body wasn't working right, and
Yeah,
he
that's
kneed
true.
me in the nuts super hard in the first round, and that sucked. And then did it
Boys.
again.
Yeah.
And oh God. And in the third round, I just I couldn't do nothing. And the ref stopped it, and it's just what it was. It was a fair win on his part. I mean, minus the groin shots, but it's a fight.
Is what it is. It's a fight game.
Yeah, it's not personal.
So in July of 2006, Tosh Cook organized an event to help raise money for Ryan Bennett. You, Loden Cicade, and Gabe Rudiger did a seminar.
Yeah.
The Ryan Bennett, what was your relationship like with him?
We were cool. Didn't know him overly well, but he was just such a great guy.
Somebody from the community, you reached out. Okay.
Yeah, and Tosh hit me up, and absolutely, I mean, you get your 15 minutes of fame, do something good with it,
Yeah.
do something good with it. At that point, how far am I going? How far am I not? But when you can do something to help somebody and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah. Tosh Cook. Yeah, Tosh Cook, another guy with a good reputation within the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke Kumo.
Good guy.
Yeah, you had Luke Kumo, Joe Riggs. Kumo is one of those guys that surprises a lot of people. He's a lot better than how you think he is when you watch his fights.
Yeah. Luke had a better strategy. Gosh darn it. You don't want to talk too much crap, but my training sucked. I'm just going to put it there.
You had cardio issues.
Well, everything. It's just the training wasn't good for me. I should have left. As soon as I came off the Ultimate Fighter, I had open invites to go out to Greg Jackson. I could have went up to Cesar Gracie's too. I should have went out to Greg Jackson's. I should have packed up and moved, but I'm a loyalist, and I wanted to stay with the pit with Chuck and the boys. I loved living in San Luis Obispo.
Why did your training get affected for this?
Lack of attention towards the other fighters on the team.
It was split too many directions. The attention was split between too many guys.
Well, it was all focused on Chuck.
Yeah.
Just like Greg Jackson is with John Jones right now. But go ahead.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not Chuck's fault. I mean, Chuck's just training and stuff. But the upper weight guys were the focus, and the lower weight guys were just there. And it's just what it is. I learned a lot about how to coach and how to treat people with those experiences, and it just led me to where I'm at now.
Okay.
You can't go back and change nothing, nor would I, because my daughter's the greatest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. And you change one thing from the past, it changes everything in the future. So, but you live and learn, and you just try to do better with the people you're working with now to make up for it.
What was your relationship like with Glover Teixeira?
Glover is great, man. Just happy, worked hard, loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'll message him every now and then. He'll respond back, But, he's just a great guy. But he's an upper weight guy. And those upper weight guys, again, I wasn't the best striker on the team, nowhere near it. So me sparring with the upper weight guys, I couldn't really hold my own.
No.
So, and Chuck and Glover, man, they just hit like bricks.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be under. I wouldn't want to know that answer. How does Glover hit? I don't know, man.
Well, I already told you how hard Chuck hits. My God.
No.
And Glover could take a shot. His conditioning was just so good. Like, I saw him get dropped in a fight that would have knocked a normal person out, and his conditioning so good was able to shake it off and come back and win the fight. I would get on the rowing machine. We'd be doing rowing machine drills, and it was fun because I finally worked myself up where I could keep up with Glover and Chuck. I was able at one point to outwork Chuck on a rowing machine, Olympic rower, but Glover I could never catch up to.
Oh,
Because
wow.
that guy was just a cardio beast. You just couldn't outwork that man. Just tough as nails, cast iron chin, hit hard, jiu-jitsu, epic jiu-jitsu, and conditioning. He was a total package.
Let's close with this. October 7th, 2006, Strike Force, Erik Ray. He's from American Kickboxing Academy. He's 9-0. You get brought in as a B-side.
Yeah. Which is what it was out here in Fresno, California, Save Mart Center. And I got him with an arm triangle choke, outworked him. He passed away a few months later, and it really sucked to hear he died. Good guy from what I heard. I didn't really know him. It's just a fight, nothing personal. I just ended up on top, got an arm triangle choke, and was able to beat him,
Yeah, that was a super fast-paced fight. Your cardio. So what your issue with Lukumo, because you kept spitting your mouthpiece out, was you had some cardio issues. You more than corrected them within the Erik Ray fight.
So the Luke Kumo fight, John Hackelman's son, Johnny Hackelman Jr., were sparring in the cage or boxing ring, I forget which. And I hit him with an elbow or a headbutt or something and hurt his tooth. And John, I looked at him and said, shit. And he came at me, clinched, and threw the hardest knee he possibly could to my sternum. And
is it about senior or junior?
Junior.
Okay.
Hackelman Sr. was laughing on the side of the cage, and he bruised it so bad. Oh, it sucked. And it just, you always fight injured, so you can't pull out of the fight. Plus, it's UFC. And I went in there, and my takedowns were off. Everything was off on the fight. I mean, every time I throw a hook, I'd turn my whole body and step with my left foot, and then he'd come in with a round kick behind it. That guy just punished me. And hit hard. I got him down once, and I got up too high, and he flipped me over. So after the fight, he had stitches somewhere, and I was getting stitches, and we rode to the hospital together in the ambulance. And so we're sitting there, and I'm on the gurney, he's sitting there, and the paramedics asked, so who did you fight? And we pointed at each other, and they go, because the fight night before, Nick Diaz and Joe Riggs got into a brawl at the hospital.
Right.
And so they're going, God, you guys just fought each other. But we're talking about what we were doing good. And he goes, man, you're a sneaky bastard. You almost got me. And we're talking about what we did right and wrong in the fight, and had a great conversation. Luke and I have always got along great. Just a great guy. Class act. So
I like him too.
Such a great guy.
Kung Lee fight got stopped because of a weird place cut.
51 seconds. Stupid cut above my eye.
You're up a weight class too.
Yeah, I never liked fighting at 85. I think the Bob Ostovich fight was at 185.
It's too big. It's too much weight.
It's just what it was. And I've never been a big built guy. I'm tall and lanky, but not muscular. The Kung Lee fight, if that fight happened in Vegas, that fight would have went further. Not saying I would have won or lost.
No.
The fight would have continued. But sanctioning in California had just occurred, and when the doctor walked in across the cage, she took 3 steps into that cage, and I'm on the opposite side, and waved it off without even looking. And I was like, oh, God.
Shortly after this, Armando Garcia, who's the California State Athletic Commissioner at the time, money comes missing. They find it in a locker. He ends up being the head of security for Station Casinos, currently living in Thailand. I'm sure all of that's a coincidence, but anybody else outside of the UFC that went there, he made life hell for them. So it's not surprising that you're
so my argument with the Kung Lee thing is a few months later in the UFC, Ultimate Fighter, Dewey, the big blonde guy, Edwin Dewey, he took a massive cut on his eye that in California that fight would have got stopped. They let it continue in Vegas. So it's just what it was.
It is what it is. It's the time, dude.
In California at the time.
Yeah.
It's just bad timing. But I got to fight Kung Lee, and it was cool. And you talk about American success stories, the American dream. Kung Lee's it, man.
Yeah.
He gets brought over here, sponsored to come over here from North Korea, made it South Korea, and got brought over to U.S. And look what he's accomplished. He's proof that you could do anything in America, and it's just a great guy.
Yeah, pretty cool. Luke, we agreed to 2 hours. We're at 2.5 hours. I can't.
I go as far as you want. I'm fine.
No, dude, we're good, man. It's absolute pleasure. Like your career, watching it from beginning to end. Instead of like a couple months here, a couple months there. Like Joey and I were talking, it reminded me. You got your Chuck Liddells, your Tito Ortiz's, Randy Couture's on the top end of the card. And then there's guys that you really enjoy watching fight from a unique style or, some sort of just emotional connection. I really liked watching you fight no matter where you were at on the card. And I appreciate this.
Thank you so much. This is the first podcast I've ever done. I don't like doing it. I just don't have a lot of time. I just don't. So I had to go get a haircut today. So make a quick plug. Javier, Barbershop, Fresno, California. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. He's gonna poop himself when he sees this.
So are you a large or an extra large?
We're extra large now.
Right. I gotta look. I don't know if I got any XLs left. I'm gonna get you off a nice little package tomorrow. So
thank you.
All right, dude, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. I know you got a kid there, your wife's out, your kid somehow has stayed quiet this entire time. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
Guys, thank you so much. I mean, this is really cool. I researched the guys' podcast before I said and you guys are class acts and really understand fighting, and been around for a long time, and this is good. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for finally doing it, man. I enjoyed your career, and I got a lot of mileage out of saying I was on the same fight card as Jason Von Flue with my fireman buddies. So I want to thank you for that.
That's funny.
Wait, hold on. Okay, Joey for sure has fought. You know what I mean? I know he's been, but like, it's an unrecorded fight. Jason Von Flue.
I got a tape.
Do you?
Somewhere, yeah.
Oh, dude! Man, you gotta put that bad boy on YouTube, yo. Blast it on Facebook.
We had an archivist named David Tice, and he just passed away. His daughter hit me up and said, "What do I do with all the videos?" This guy videoed like the early fights of Ronda Rousey, everything that Larry Lambert ever did.
Wait a minute, Joey. We gotta put those up, dude. We can put them on our channel. We can finally make money.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her tomorrow.
All right, so. There's a guy locally, and he used to tell me he had a very common name. I don't know what I'm going to do with this information. Very common name, and he claimed that Dan Henderson and Pele, he fought them at the same time same night. It's pretty easy to narrow down. There was never any video, never any picture of this guy's name. And then I met the person, and I'm like, wait. What? That guy's full of shit. And I'm not saying Joey was, but I'm glad to see we got somebody vouching for Joey.
I'll say I fought. It was a pretty low level, but I did fight.
Oh, dude, she's beautiful. She's beautiful, man.
I love everything. So same thing. I have the first ever sanctioned MMA bout in Guatemalan history, December 10th, 2004. What? Get out of here, girl.
That's awesome.
Undocumented. Herb Dean knows about it because he hit me up.
Call him up
after the fight. Hit me up after the fight and said, "Hey, can you get me on the card down there? Because American refs can't fight in America, but they can fight out of the U.S.
Right.
But first ever sanctioned MMA fight in Guatemalan history, and I won it. So
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
you have to get me on another time for another story.
100%.
Yeah, pretty
Anytime.
cool. So,
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
guys, I cuss a lot, but
We're good.
No, you're good.
But God bless, and thank you for this opportunity. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Cool. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's a good one, dude. We've been waiting on him for a minute. Joey, you've texted him, no response.
No response. Yeah, he's just talking about how he's easy to get a hold of, but he didn't have time for me.
He can be grumpy.
Yeah. I must have caught him at a bad moment.
I caught him at a bad moment too, and I just kind of wait. You know, you got to throw a little line out there. So, all right, dude. Joey, what did we say that the value of these were? What was the stickers?
Well, you gave me 10, and when you factor all the hours I've put into the podcast and my working wage, I think they're worth $1,500 a piece.
Okay. You know, and there's tariffs, you know, that issue with China that we're going through right now. So if you guys can leave a rating on Apple and Spotify, or one or the other, I don't care. Send me your address. First off, you got to prove it. Send me your address. I'll get you off a bunch of stickers. We should, we're 2.5 hours in. We probably should put this in the beginning, but like, I got a bunch of stickers. I want to mail them out. It's pretty cheap to throw them in the mail. You got to leave us a rating. We got to get something out of you. I'll throw a bunch in the mail. So if you guys can do that, hit us through Instagram. We can figure that out. Joey,
I'll see you on the next one.
thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.